Mic test 1, 2.
Claims and resources are two other areas that I plan on focusing on. Housing needs to be improved. We need to bring our young people home, but also alleviate the overcrowding on reserve because we've got 3 generations living in one home. We've got black mold in many of our houses that needs to be cleaned up. We've got elders sleeping on couches of their grandchildren, and that's not right. We're a very rich band. And that's one of the things I plan on focusing on is not only improving housing, but our Land Management Act and establishing our urban economies to create opportunities to develop our own source revenue through gas stations, pharmacies, and other businesses to create jobs and opportunities for urban members, but also to provide source revenue to support our members and elders back. Those are some of the things we're going to focus on. Should I be elected as your chief on April 3rd? I know 10 minutes isn't a lot of time to talk. I will have my own forum here tomorrow night in Regina that you're all invited to at the Hungarian Club from 6 to midnight. We're going to have a dry dance and entertainment. We're going to feed everybody, and everybody's welcome to come and be a part of that. And if you have further discussions with me, I am on Facebook. You can friend request me. My cell phone number, if you got a pen, is 306-250-0079. I've got pamphlets and brochures in the room. You can text me or call me anytime, anywhere. I'll respond. And one thing I make a pledge to you is, should I be your chief April 3rd? I will respond to every text message, email, and inbox as your chief because that's what I do currently in my role right now. Communication is important, and your voices matter, and you will be acknowledged should I be successful. And at the end of the day on April 3rd, whoever sits in that chief's chair on April 4th, the sun will rise the next morning, and we'll move forward as a nation collectively, and we'll work together as one. So with that, I have 1 minute left. I want to thank you all for the time. Thank you, Johnny, and to the staff, to the members that are viewing via YouTube. Thank you for joining us. I wish you all safe travels. I apologize I didn't shake your hands. I usually shake hands of every person in the room, but I'm battling a cough and a cold, and I don't want to make you sick. But you're important to me, so I came out because I wanted to see you, and I wanted just to hear my voice and tell you I love you, and I ask for your support on April 3rd. K'chay miigwech, chahaw.
Thank you so much. Oh, the alarm just went. I hear the alarms. So yes, thank you, David. I think as you can see there, we're just right under the 10-minute mark. So what we're going to do next is we'll have our next chief candidate, Gerald Dubois, to come up and do his speech, and I'll reset that to 10 minutes. And then after that, we'll do questions from the membership in attendance for any questions that they have for the chief candidates, and then we'll proceed after that with the councillor candidates. Okay. So chief candidate David, don't go too far because I want to invite you back up to the main table to come and join us as well. For that might arise from the membership in attendance. Again, we're being live. We're going live here virtually across Canada on YouTube. So please log those at home and those that are in touch or in communication with your loved ones across Canada. Please let them know to log in on the YouTube channel. And you can log in through the Muscowpetung website and just click on that link and it will take you right to the YouTube site, and it'll project it right on your computer or your tablet, okay? Can I have my work phone there, my assistant? My assistant from The Price is Right. Thank you so much for that. Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and proceed with the next candidate, Chief Candidate Gerald Duwas, and Chief Candidate Gerald. I'll just reset this, and then we'll be good to go. Okay.
Testing. Okay, good evening to everybody. Um, like in my brochure, I'm the son of the late Louis and Pearl Dubois. We had a family of 10, we're down to 5. And I come to you from learned, worked, and lived experience. And I focus on compassion because I care. And I learned that caring through our matriarchs, my immediate matriarchs, but matriarchs from Muscowpetung Saulteaux Nation. I was also fortunate enough to work in Treaty 7 in child welfare. Yeah, I didn't choose child welfare as a career, it chose me. I finished my first year law in 1986, and that's when I met my late son, who was a young fella from the Blood Reserve, a young fella that nobody wanted to or could care for because of his medical needs. So I took it upon myself. And to me, he was a gift. I left law school. Well, I didn't leave law school. I took a leave from law school on the understanding that I'd get trained in how to care for him and all that. And one thing led to another. And during that journey, I got to know a lot of the guys in Treaty 7 through hockey and rodeo. And one of the guys was a fellow named Daryl. We used to call each other my other brother Daryl. And in 1989, I first read the document Directive 20-1, which introduced child welfare. And the Tsutana hired a consultant, and Daryl asked me to read it. I did. And I kind of trashed it, and I explained why I trashed it. And what happened is they eventually seconded me to help them set up their agency. They hired me as their director, and then I got lured back to Saskatchewan. And that work experience really taught me a lot, because Directive 20-1 was a terrible document. But people that I worked with in Treaty 4, we stood together and we challenged Canada. The end result of that was the human rights case, which we won in 2016. Prior to the launching of the human rights case, we worked on the, they call it the National Policy Review. That was completed in June of 2000. And we gave it to each territorial organization, the AFN and federal government. For 4 years, nothing happened. But anyway, the end result was the human rights case. And that's where I met and worked with a lot of First Nations people across the country. And the one thing that really concerns me with our nation is the lack of financial reporting. And I'm taking upon to report how our money went. And I make that commitment because I've learned that through working with Tsutana, working with Touchwood, and I know what it takes to do an unqualified audit. And that was my standard. When I first got my unqualified audit, I freaked. I thought, oh, it's not good. But no, that's the highest standard you can get. And that's how I govern myself. And I owe everyone a member. And that's why I say I owe you, and I will perform that duty. The other thing I want to talk about is, briefly, is community. What really annoys me is currently we have a lot of brilliant young people. I've met a few of them in the last little while, and it's really encouraging to listen and talk to them. But we're not using them. You know, I've heard it said, oh, Muscowpetung's got the highest per graduates, blah, blah, blah. But who's working at our band office? Not those people, not me. I mean, you know, I got an offer to go work in Northern Ontario to do child welfare. Well, why can't I do it at home? You know, I was a witness to the human rights case, but that's another thing that bothers me is the land claim. It wasn't put forward that the land claim was worth 390 million. What was put forward was, do you agree to the 150 million? Yes or no? And I questioned some of the council. And I said, why didn't you guys fight? Well, there was no guarantee we were going to win. Well, there was no guarantee we were going to win the human rights case, but we won it anyway based on fact. You know, and we did the right thing for the kids. So now I wonder, I hear, oh, our children are our future. Well, what kind of a future are they going to have? Like, how are we going to get that 240 million? You know? And I have to share this with you because I came to meet Cheyenne Stonechild. Cheyenne Stonechild has a case before the court. Only what it does is mirrors our case, but hers is off reserve. But there's no support for her. And I did ask for her permission to bring this forward. And those are the kind of fights that I want to fight. You know, our rights. So, and in community, I really love strategic planning. I have a brother from Siksika who's a specialist, an expert. And I talked to him. I said, should I be put in office, would you come and give us a week where we could put a plan together, a 5-year plan? Because, you know, I came back here in 94. Our neighbors to the east and to the west of us, they have a elders lodge. They have a youth lodge. What do we have? Nothing. And I really want to focus on our young people to encourage them to, you know, because that's what I got from our matriarchs. And I give a special shout out to late Auntie Mary Pratt. She was the one that gave me the blueprint for doing child welfare. It only hit me years later, but my mom and dad, they had their relationship issues, and I was kind of left to fend for myself. And I stayed by myself when I was just entering grade 9. But who come and got me? Auntie Mary Pratt. She didn't expect money. She just said, "You're staying with me," and that's what compassion is about, and that's what I've been telling the federal government for 30 plus years. We have the resources. We have our people, our matriarchs. We also have our patriarchs. So my uncles taught me how to work. I once picked rocks with my dad and older brother for $1 an hour. I made the same wage they did. You know, so, but we have to learn how to pass and encourage our young folks to expand and their minds, their bodies. We have to support them. And one final comment, and again, but I'll say it publicly. I read this newsletter. What they didn't tell us was Mike, I'll call him out on this. Mike moved our child welfare program over back to Cuba. They didn't tell us that, but I'm telling you that. And I'm telling you that we have our resources sitting amongst us that could help me, help council, draft and implement a child welfare program second to none, so that people will come and look at us, steal from us. I was taught to steal shamelessly from my brother from Siksika. And yes, housing, I took it upon myself to speak to people about housing. I was also I also got an invite from a company in Ontario with 6 nations to come and look at their non-renewable energy program. But I told them you're a bit premature here. Anyway, that's it. I'll talk really fast. No, I'm kidding. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you, Chief Candidate Derald. As you can see, you just made it under the 1 minute, 1 second marker, your time. So your time was just perfect, I tell you. So at this time, I'm going to ask Chief Candidate David to come up as well too to the table here. We have a mic that's available from my colleague over here, Damien. And Damien's got a mic for any member in attendance that has any questions for our 2 chief candidates here. Here's your opportunity. And we got a mic here that's my colleague Damien has. So again, I ask that you keep your questions, respectful, mindful, and also professional as well too. And also remember that we're streaming live right now. So let's try to maintain professionalism for sure. And Damien's got the mic. And definitely, thank everybody. I thank so much to everybody in attendance for giving an opportunity for our chief candidates to speak. And there was no rudeness, no loudness, nobody speaking loud. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. It gave a lot of respect to our chief candidates for their speeches. Okay, so at this time, I'm gonna turn it over to the floor. Who has the first question? Please raise your hand, and we'll have the mic over to you right away. Is there any questions from the audience in attendance? Okay, we got our hand over here. Damien, you want to take the mic over? And could you please give your name and your date of birth and your treaty number? Just kidding. Just give us your name and which candidate you're addressing to.
Yeah, I'm going to address both of them. My name is Ralph Nabis. I probably qualify as one of the elders, and I'm going to be turning 79 this year. But anyways, I've been around. I didn't spend one night on the reserve. I haven't, never. Most of my upbringing was in Regina Beach or Regina. I spent 6 years in the military. I worked under Paul Dojak Center. I worked in Spy Hill Correction Center as a correction officer, not an inmate. And so I've been around. I spent the last 40 years selling cars in Regina. Not only that, before that, I did 5 years selling vacuum cleaners door to door. Under, basically by invitation. But anyways, that's a little background of my history. What I want to do is, because I've been around Regina for quite a few years, I get to see a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff aren't being addressed right now. The weather's getting better. Sun's coming out, snow's melting. The druggies are coming out of the woodwork. I want to know what you guys will do, or what the chief will do, addressing the problem or helping address the problem within Regina. I know the reserve has their own problem, but as landlords, as chief and council on the reserve, you are landlords of that community. So you can address that problem. I want to know what you can do in Regina. I made a post on Regina Rant and Rave a couple months ago. After I was driving around, and in 1 week, there was 4 deaths, 7 overdoses in 1 week. I drive by and I see people lying on the floor, on the ground. Police are standing over them, doing nothing, just watching them. They can't do nothing because all they do is send them into the hospital. Next day, they're out doing the same thing. I know there's a little talk of treatment centers and stuff. I know Pipe's talking that. I would like to know whether or not you would take it further. why can't you get a hold of the city, provincial government, and there are 70 reserves or 70 some reserves in Saskatchewan. Why can't we have some sort of a summit addressing that problem? You know, that you be the leaders. Call out to other reserves, come in, let's see what we can do. Because a lot of those overdoses and a lot of people doing drugs are transient people from other communities. And that's a big problem in Regina. The other stuff, I would really like to know what you're going to do about it. I know by getting the governments involved, the city, getting all the other reserves, maybe we can look at a bigger community treatment center. Maybe because drug use is actually against the law. It's supposed to be treated as the same way as the DUI. Maybe they can go to a 3-strike rule. You can do a forcible treatment. And there's nothing wrong with tough love. And my concern is basically trying to save our lives of our own community, other people. Okay.
Elder, because of the time constraint that we're on, we got to limit our time. And so when you're addressing the chief candidates, please be direct to what you're wanting the chief candidates to speak to, because we gotta make sure that we be mindful of the time for everybody, to give everybody a chance to speak. So based on the draw, we have the first and second draws. I'll ask. I know that the elder wanted the chief candidates to address that. So we'll be. So we'll go with the first, chief candidate David that drawed first. You can speak to you can do a rebuttal or response to the elder, chief candidate David.
Thanks, Johnny. And I forgot to thank earlier Elder Miggs for saying the opening prayer. My apologies. So thank you for that. First of all, yes, it is heartbreaking, Ralph. I mean, just driving around downtown today, down 11th Avenue, you could just see all our people. Those are all our people out there that are on drugs and addicted. One thing we've been trying to do is get together to work on some type of a protocol or a framework or a strategy to address crystal meth and fentanyl addictions in our urban areas. Should I be successful as your chief, I want to work with all levels of government, with the mayor's office and with the ministers of health, remote and rural health, as well as our own federal MP, Buckley Belanger, who's in government. I think it takes a 3-tiered approach where it's First Nation, federal government, and then the province. I view them down underneath us because we're treaty and this is still our land. I don't care what anyone says. And the feds and the province are under us because of treaty. So I think we need to work together with our provincial and federal counterparts to come up with a strategy. I know that the federal government has earmarked millions of dollars to the province. I haven't had the breakdown for a couple of years, but I know 500 million was set aside for beds. 500 to 1,000 beds. 500 beds were promised by the Mo government. I don't think they fulfilled that 500 beds yet. They committed another further 500 beds, treatment facilities. I think we need to look at what Alberta's doing. Alberta announced 10,000 beds 3 years ago. So I think we need to look at a strategy where investments are made. I'm not against working together with other member nations to come together to invest in a treatment facility that's holistic. I know in conversations for the last few weeks in the campaign, a number of our members have even talked about building one on Muscowpetung and developing our own treatment facility out there, because the crystal meth issue isn't just in the city, it's on the reserves everywhere. And every one of us in this room has been touched by it. We've lost people. We've lost loved ones, nephews, brother-in-laws, siblings that have passed away because of crystal meth. So I think we have to come together as a community. I think any type of solution we're looking at has to be community driven, because community knows what's best. Those frontline workers that are on the ground dealing with the homeless need to be a part of the strategy. Those that are at Carmichael Outreach that are dealing with our people and feeding them. Those that are working with the HIV people on the street here in the core area. I think it'll be a group of the community people that are delivering those frontline health and human services to the homeless people, but also working with the federal and provincial government to earmark funding and to set it aside with First Nations. And if we have to pony up some type of an investment, I'm not against us doing that, because we do have resources at our fingertips. We do have our gaming trust fund that we all own collectively in this province under the Gaming Framework Agreement. We can access that. Who's to say we can't get $1 million out of gaming collectively to build a treatment facility in Regina and one in Saskatoon, where all our people are? And the nations just invest something to build that. So Ralph, it's a good question. And I think we can work with Ritz's and a lot of these urban service delivery providers to come up with solutions to address it, because those are our people. We were in Calgary there at the forum earlier this year. We had a bunch of sandwiches left over after. We went down to the homeless shelter in Calgary. 377 people were in that homeless shelter in -20 weather. And you know something? Most of those people were our people in that homeless shelter. They weren't Munyashuks. They were our own people from all over the place living on the streets in Calgary. So we got to do something to address it. Under the current funding regime, the provinces get our funding. It flows to the provincial government for our urban members. The only funding that we get on reserve is those that are living on reserve, but we can fix that and still make those investments. So I'll do everything I can to help that and to come up with a strategy that's something that we want to prioritize, not just at the community level, at the nation level. We're already talking about developing a protocol framework so that we can community and health and wellness safety framework on the reserve. Why, if we can develop one for the reserve to identify the needs out there, why can't we develop one with the First Nations here, with FHQ, and as well as a number of the independent bands to come up with one for the city, and then lobby like heck to get that framework funded and operational. So I'm prepared to invest political capital, energy, and time to address that issue should I be elected on April 3rd. So good question. Thanks, Ralph.
Can you hear me?
Okay, thank you, Chief Candidate David. We'll go over to Chief Candidate Derald.
Daryl. I was fortunate enough to work with the city of Calgary in 1983-84. And they called the position Native Liaison Worker. They hired me, but they didn't give me a job description. They gave me a couple of pieces of paper and said, okay, tell us what you're going to do. And I sat around getting a paycheck for doing nothing. But there was one elderly lady, the late Maggie Blackkettle from Siksika. She was having issues with Indian Affairs. And so she called me and we talked and I helped her. We dealt with Indian Affairs. But where I'm going with that is City Council, we formed a committee to look at and address the issues that people, like Calgary is a pretty popular place to immigrate to. And there were a lot of issues that First Nations people were facing from all over. And I really liked that idea. And I worked with a group of 4 university students, and we did an information gathering. And I would like to work with our neighbors to the west, to the east, because together is better. I don't think they would listen just to one community. But if we partner up with our brothers and sisters, or maybe even make it a Treaty 4 thing, but I would like to approach the City of Regina, City Council, and put that idea forward where we could look at issues like homelessness, like drug addiction, because it is really shocking to me to see and sad to see our people just out of it on the streets. They're not all from Muscowpetung, but they all need help regardless of where they come. But I would really push that idea because it worked for the city of Calgary, where a First Nations person coming to the city not knowing where to get help, they knew to call City Hall because we had a unit there to help these people. And that's what I'd like to push because it worked in 83, 84. I left 84. I moved on to other things, but it was such a fun job to work with people from different parts of Canada to help them, to get them settled. And that's what I'd like to push forward with the mayor and our fellow brothers and sisters living east and west of us. Do it as a force, not just, there's more strength in numbers, and it's together is better. So, yeah, it does need to be addressed. It needs concrete action, because we are losing our people on the streets, and it's sad to see them spaced out and whatever it is they're on. I had to deliver some wedding food a couple of years ago to the center, Albert Scott, and there was one section of talk that just took my breath away when I could see the closed shops and our people just out of it laying on the streets. Like it was just going like to a different third world country. These are not bad people. They're people that just need support, and we can do it. And again, like I said, I would, approach the mayor of the city and say, let's work together, Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Candidate Darrell. Again, please keep the noise down to a minimum while the chief candidates are speaking, please. And keep your questions, as the moderator and facilitator for tonight, please keep your questions down to one, not multiple questions and multiple parts. Just keep your questions to one question and be direct with that one question so that, our chief candidates can answer them efficiently and effectively with, as quick as possible, okay? Any other questions from the floor? I see, over here, Damien. In front here, the first table in the front here, and then the back table is what I seen the hands go up in that order. Just out of fairness, okay? And so again, keep your questions just to one question for the time being. And
Good evening. I just want to thank the elder for the prayer this evening and thank everybody for coming out. When I sit, the question I want to ask our chiefs that are campaigning, those were powerful words that you both said, and there's a lot of really powerful, educated people in this room here tonight. The question I'd like to ask both of you is that should things not turn out in your way, would you be willing to bring on the chiefs that aren't successful on April the 3rd to be able to help? Because just listening to yourself and Darrell being the one of the main ones in that class action, which allows everybody to bring forward and apply for that money. Those are very powerful things. So just looking at our leaders and feeling that they have that care, I want to know, would you join together and continue to work together if either one of you weren't successful? Thank you.
okay, we'll have, again, as their names were drawn out of a hat, out of fairness, Chief Candidate David got drawn first, so we'll get him to address it first. But we want to keep the answers down to a minimum. So I ask that you keep it, under 3 minutes in terms of your answers and your response to the questions that are very valuable brought up by the membership in attendance. So I'll go with Chief Candidate David first, and then Chief Candidate Darrell, as per how your names were drawn out of the hat.
Yes, I will work with our fellow chief candidates. Yep. Should I be successful, one of the things I plan on utilizing is our former chiefs, all of our former chiefs, to negotiate on our land claims and to bring our elders with us that have that corporate knowledge of our history on our claims, and including the chief and council to be a part of those discussions. You know, Daryl has many years of experience in child welfare, and I've acknowledged that publicly in a number of places about the good work that he's done. I brag on Muscowpetung members everywhere I go, including Cheyenne, getting that case certified for off reserve next, because the case we settled deals specifically with on reserve. The next class action we're going to go after next is the children that were taken by the Ministry of Social Services off reserve. We haven't forgotten about our children off reserve. And I'm really proud, and you may not know this, but Cheyenne Stonechilds from Muscowpetung is the one that got that class action certified, and she's working on that. And we need to offer her our full support as Muscowpetung Soto Nation member and help get that case moving forward. And that's the pledge I make. Yes, I'll definitely look at including all the former chiefs at the table, as well as Daryl with his years of experience, because we have to come together after this and move forward. There's a lot of work to get done, and we're going to need everybody. I can't do it alone, and the 5 council can't do it alone. Whoever they should be, April 3rd, we got to all come together. We all got to be a part of that table and that discussion's moving forward. Because I believe at the end of the day, every one of us in this room wants what's best for Muscowpetung, or we wouldn't be here. Yeah. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you for your question.
Okay, before we begin, can you have the noise please come down to a minimum back there? Can you please bring the noise down? If you want to visit, and definitely encourage you to visit, please do so outside the hallway, so you're not disrupting the chief candidates while they're speaking. So keep the noise down, please. Chief candidate Daryl.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. That question for me personally has a history. When I was about to finish my degree back in the 1900s, and when I had black hair, it was 1980, and I came back to Muscowpetung, and I asked then Chief Ron Rosebluff. I told him I'm about to finish. I want to come back and work with the nation for Muscowpetung. But he said, there's really nothing to come back to. I said, okay, fair enough. And I was immediately grabbed up by the government of Alberta and all that. So yes, if asked, I would gladly work with and for the nation. I'm still getting different offers from across Canada to go help in child welfare. But my first preference is Muscowpetung. And especially when it comes to child welfare, or it comes to housing, or it comes to helping our urban people, I dream big and I dream in color. And like the human rights case was a very, very scary experience, because we were there by ourselves, but we did it anyway. And we got it done. And based on what I learned during that battle, is Canada can be beaten. The government can be beaten. We proved it based on fact, based on my 1-year law school. But we did it, and we got the kids money. We got the kids support. And so yes, if asked, but I haven't been asked. So thank you, because I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. But I have other offers where people are saying, well, are you going to come? Are you going to come and help us? Well, I wanted to give Muscowpetung first choice, but I haven't been asked. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Candidate Daryl. We'll go over to the young lady in the back there that had her hand up. Damien, can you go to the young lady in the back there? And please address your question just to one direct question only, not multiple questions, just one question only.
I was just wondering, how do you plan to implement transparency as well as make it easily accessible to every member for us to hold chief and council accountable for any reckless spending?
Okay, thank you. I'm going to turn the mic over to, or reset the timer, and we'll turn the mic over to Chief Candidate David.
Thank you, Johnny. Good question. I think we need to look at developing our own Financial Management Act. There's a number of First Nations that are already moving forward on that. I know that Pheasant Rump is one of them, just recently received their certification. Atakakoop, another First Nation that's recently received their certification in terms of transparency, and they provide detailed audits and reporting to the members that are posted online. One of the pledges I make, should I be successful as your chief, is that I plan on posting my salary along with my travel, and I want my travel detailed and where I went to and what benefit did it come to the nation, because as members, you deserve to know that. And that's one of the pledges and commitments I make on that. Another thing in terms of our audit, we need to look at separate audits. We cannot have a consolidated audit. We need a separate audit on our ISC funding, which we get about 2.5 million annually. That needs its own separate audit. That's funding for the school, the water treatment plant, O&M, etc. We also need our own separate audit for the Legacy Trust Fund with a detailed expenditure about that. I know that's a big issue with the membership. And that's what we'll provide, is a detailed audit and developing a work plan around that Legacy Trust Fund in conjunction with the elders and the membership. Where do you see the priorities being? What do we need to focus on for investments? And how can it best meet the needs of our membership? So that's something that we plan on coming back, bringing to the membership and getting your direction and input on that. The third area is MBSD, our own source revenue. We need a separate audit on that. And there's plenty of opportunities right now with industry. All of the work that's going on in critical minerals, the issues with the Americans on Trump, all of those issues, we can create those opportunities to provide employment to our membership, but also to bring in source revenue that will benefit our elders and our youth and urban supports for our urban membership. So that's some of the things that I plan on doing should I be successful as your chief. So I ask for your support April 3rd on that. Vote for me and I'll make all your dreams come true. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you.
Like I said earlier, I owe you a duty to report on all band expenditures. I take that pledge because that's how I lived my working life throughout the years, working with other First Nations and what have you. And, I have to make a comment on our land claim. I'll go back to that. What I can't understand is, why does Ron Maurice get $8 million for agreeing to what the government put on the table? It just doesn't sit well with me. And the reason why I say that is when we won the case for billions, it was people like myself who worked in child welfare. We never took a dime. I got recognized for my work. This is why this blanket is here. And to me, that's what it's all about. It's not about how much money I can put in my back pocket or make a six-figure salary. It's what you give. It's what you leave. And this, my blankie, I call it, gives me so much pride. That's what it's all about. That's how we're going to roll in Muscowpetung. We're going to go back to how we were. So thank you for listening.
Okay, any other questions before we move on to our councillor candidates that are in attendance? Okay, Damien, over to this table. Again, keep your question to one question only and a direct question, yeah.
Good evening. I'd like to ask David and Daryl, what do you think of our community forming a justice committee?
That's a good question. Yes, we need to establish a justice committee to deal with the issues of community safety. That's a big, big issue. One thing we weren't able to get done was developing a policing framework in our negotiations with Canada. The sticking point that killed the development of a policing framework with the Liberal government was they wouldn't recognize our jurisdiction. That was the biggest thing. They still wanted us to operate under provincial and territorial law, and we don't agree with that one bit, because the provinces and territories are probably contributing to the issue and why we're in some of the trouble that we're in amongst ourselves. So definitely I support establishing a justice committee. I want to establish a number of committees, not just justice. We need to develop a justice policing framework. We need to develop a community safety framework. We need to develop a treaty right to health framework. There's a number of frameworks we have to develop based on our inherent and treaty rights. So this is part of the governance that I'm proposing. And should I be successful? And like Daryl has said here, we have got enough educated experts that are in this room and that are part of Muscowpetung. We don't need to hire Morris Interactive or MLT Aikens. We can do it ourselves. We don't need Munya Shucks coming in to save us. We have enough expertise and life experience around this room and around the table that we can utilize to get this work started. So I fully support the establishment, and I commit to establishing a justice committee, Angeline. You'll have that from me. So knock on wood, things work out April 3rd. That'll be one of the priorities we'll work on post April 3rd. Should I be your chief? Jay McGuitch.
Again, you bring back memories of, I'll go back to 1980. The Alberta government was advertising for guards at the Calgary remand. And I applied and I was successful. And I was thrown right in with, I shouldn't say thrown right in, but I worked right with the inmates. The other students, they got to open and close doors. I was working right in the cells and the units. But what I noticed is, especially with the young people, the younger inmates, how they were lost. You know, they didn't need to be locked up. Even our First Nations people that came into remand, they were put with the hardened criminals, first-time offenders. And yes, like, you know, do we put people in jail to punish them or to rehab them? You know, like the current system is you punish them out of sight, out of mind, but they don't deal with the core issues that these young people are facing. And that's how we could fashion and design our own system to address, you know, like in my case, residential school. You know, I'm still surviving residential school. I went to a workshop yesterday and some of my former classmates were there. But anyway, going back to justice, I would really like that challenge, that opportunity to do it our way. What did we do when, you know, when somebody in a camp did wrong? How did we address that? You know, make them responsible, because all the correction system was reinforce that bad behavior. You know, didn't correct them. And they, like, maybe you think it's a soft touch, but I don't think so, because our people in these jails and institutions, they're the ones that fuel the system, and the system doesn't address the residential school trauma or whatever our people are facing. You know, it needs a human touch. Thank you.
Okay, thank you to our chief candidates that are up here with us today. Is there any more questions before we move on to our councillor candidates? And we have them, we have lots in attendance. Do we have any more questions at this time for our chief candidates before we move on to our councillor candidates? Okay, we have another question. Damien, to the back. Again, keeping your question to a direct one question only, not multiple questions. Just one direct question.
My name is Madeline Benjo. And I'm the daughter of the late Chief David Benjo. And I just want to ask a question when somebody's going on, this is the education question. Just when somebody's going on for their second degree and they're not funded for that, and then they're told that they have to rely on other resources after they've done one certification. Right now, I had to help my daughter. She wasn't funded. I had to help her, and I funded her through the payment that I had gotten. Out of the payment that we received, I paid for her classes. And I was never reimbursed for that. I didn't even ask for reimbursement. I just paid for her classes. And still, she's not quite done yet. So that's her second certification. And I as well, when I started my training, I have 3 certifications as well. And for those, I never got funded for either. I had to rely on myself all over these 3 years, when I was younger, when I was going through my training. And I've had to refund myself. Every time I asked for band funding, I got turned down. And same goes for my daughter. We're all told we're not band members. Like, what is with that? Being told I wasn't a band member, and my dad was the late Chief David Benjo.
Okay, I just got to interrupt you there. Point of order. A point of order, what is the exact question you're asking from both candidates? What's the question you're asking for both of them?
What I'm asking is how are you going to support the people that go on into their second, when they go for their second degree?
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
The funding for it, are they going to allow them to, are they going to fund that is what I'm asking.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to go over to, again, as per how they were drawn out of the hat, we'll go to Chief Candidate David first, and then Chief Candidate Daryl second.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I want to acknowledge David Benjo too and his family for all the good work they did in days gone by as our former chief too as well. Good question. I think when we look at right now as it currently sits, post-secondary is funded just based on our total population, but it's not enough to meet the needs. We can probably fund on average about 20 students, I think, annually. What we need to look at is what other First Nations are doing now. And that's where we have to develop policies and frameworks over our Legacy Trust Fund in consultation with the membership. We have the ability now, the wealth and riches, that if our members want to go to any school in the world, they should have it completely paid for. Whether it's Harvard, whether it's Stanford, whether it's FNUC, any place in the world, we have that ability. And one of the things that I want to see develop, should I be successful as your chief, is develop those types of supports where anybody that wants to go further into their master's program is fully funded. So that as our people are able to improve their education outcomes, they're going to be able to improve their outcomes in life. And I think we have a high degree of undergraduate and graduate people. We've even got PhDs from Muscowpetung. And I think we need to do everything we can to provide those financial supports to them. And that's the pledge and the commitment I make to the membership, is to provide that so that not one person is left out and that everybody receives those supports that they need as they further their education. Thank you.
To me, education is a treaty right. And I don't accept that we can't, or our students can't go on to the master's or law school or whatever it be. Because I would challenge whomever is saying, no, you can't. I say, yes, we can, because it's treaty. You know, we're not just limited to the bachelor level. We go beyond because it's treaty. And I will fight for that. That's my pledge to our students, to our young people who want to become whatever they want to be, who want to follow their dreams. And I pledge that, because to me, education is a treaty right. And for too long, Canada has been saying, no, you can't do that. I'm saying, yes, we can. So that's my commitment.
Okay, thank you, everybody. It is now 8:15. Thank you to, let's give a big round of applause to our chief candidates in attendance here. Thank you so much, chief candidates, for being here, but also for your due diligence and your questions and answering all the questions and the valuable, very smart questions coming from the audience in attendance. Thank you so much. We are gonna recess here for a few minutes because I'm gonna invite all the councillor candidates to the front here because I gotta put your names and numbers in a hat so we can be out of fairness. So out of your speeches and out of the questions coming from the floor, we're using the numbers and making sure that we're being fair. So at this right time, we'll take a 3-minute recess, a chance for you to use the washroom, have a health break outside, and stretch the legs and get the blood flowing again. And at this time, I want all the councillor candidates, please come to the front here so we can draw the names out of a hat. Damien's lucky hat. Come to the front, everybody, please. Huh? Like last one, it'll be numbers, yeah. So we'll put all the numbers of all the councillor candidates in attendance, and we'll draw numbers, and that's how you'll speak based on the number you draw. And that's just being out of fairness for everybody, okay? Yeah. Yeah, because we have I don't know if we have the full allotment of councillors, and that's fine. You know, but we'll definitely accommodate as much questions as we can from the audience. But you got to remember 11? Yeah. Yeah. Joyce? Okay. 12? Okay. I need all the councillor candidates to the front here, please. Oops. Okay, we got 12. Do we want, councillor candidates, do you guys want 5 minutes each or 10 minutes each? 10 minutes? Okay, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay, we'll go 10 minutes, but you don't have to use the full 10 minutes if you don't want to, okay? If you want to use 5 minutes, that's fine, okay? But we are going 10 minutes. I will keep the responses from the audience down to at least 2 minutes each though. Okay, and I'll put the timer up. So is that fine with everybody? 2 minutes to answer, or you guys want the full 3? Okay, we'll go 2 minutes each. All 2 minutes each for all the councillors to answer. Okay? Councillor candidates can answer. Yeah. And we'll go 2 minutes each. And a chance right now, after we do your numbers, we'll take a chance for everybody to use the washroom and have a break. Please come and draw your number. Onto your number, yeah. Hang on to your number. Keep your number. Yeah. Use the washroom now. Yeah. I got to use the washroom too, so we'll just take 2 more minutes and we'll get started. Yeah, keep your number, yeah. Keep your number. And 2 minutes, we'll get started. Chance for everybody to have a health break outside and to use the washroom because I got to use the washroom too myself. Hey, Damien.
We'll just tell them to come up. They all have their numbers. Yeah. We'll just tell them to come up. Yeah, we'll call the first 4 then.
Yeah, so you have 4, 5, 6, and 7, right?
It should be 1, 2, 3, and 4. I did different numbers for the councillors and the chiefs. So
Okay.
it should be 1, 2, 3, 4.
It should be 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh,
Yeah.
for the councillor ones, you did 1, 2, 3, 4?
Yeah, 1 through 19
Yeah.
for the councillors, and then 1 through 3 for
Yeah,
the
because you
chiefs.
didn't have all 22 of them here, right?
No.
So the ones that drew 1, 2, 3, and 4, we can call them.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. We'll do
Yeah.
that. Okay. Hey, use the washroom. We'll come back in 2 minutes. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started now. So I ask security to please call the people that are having a health break in the front. Please make their way back inside the building now. So security is rounding everybody in the front that are having a health break to come inside now. At this time, we're gonna re-adjourn, our candidates forum with the counselors now, the counselor candidates. I'm gonna ask the counselors 1 to 4 to please come up to the front of the table here. Can I have please counselors 1 to 4? And again, this was out of fairness. It was drawn out of a hat. All the numbers from one until to all the counselor candidates. Please come and have a seat over here. Counselor candidates 1 to 4. 1 to 4. Yeah. Yeah. Well, is there enough tables, enough chairs up here? You can use this chair.
You don't need me up here right now.
No, because I need you
For the question.
You want to pass the mics down there that way? And grab a mic and pass it all down. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you, James. Okay, thank you, everybody. We're going to continue on with this evening's portion of our counselor candidates now, and we have a good number in attendance. Believe me, a good number in attendance. So, out of due fairness and due diligence, to give them, the allotted time, as per the act, it says 10 minutes. You don't have to use the whole 10 minutes, but we're going to give them, that time to basically do their speech. Okay. So I ask that you keep the noise down. Out of respect to our counselor candidates as they're speaking, keep the noise down. If you do need to talk and you need to visit, please do so in the hallway, okay? But out of courtesy and out of respect, please keep the noise down to a minimum, okay? Okay. Okay, hold on. Okay, and again, keep in mind we're streaming live across Canada right now too as well. So thank you to our viewers online that are watching. And again, we drew the numbers out of a hat, 1 to 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So out of fairness, that's how the order we're going from 1 to 4 right now, and then we'll go out to the next numbers that are going to be invited up to speak because we don't have enough chairs and enough tables at the front here. Okay. So with that, I'm going to just turn this over. Just hold on one moment.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Germaine Langan. My family name is Dubois. My mother is Florence Dubois, Daryl Dubois' dad's sister. My grandfather is Emile Dubois, and my biological grandmother was Monique Echewas, and she originated from Sakamay, moved to Muscowpetung when she married David Apishkanu. And when David died, she remarried my Mushamemio. They had 2 children, which was Daryl's dad and my mother. And when she passed away, he remarried Eliza Dubois, and then they had 7 more children, which was my Uncle Pete, Marion, Stella, Wilfred, Rita. I hope I didn't miss somebody. Lawrence, Bob, yeah, right. So anyway, I've never been involved in band politics before. This is my first time. But I have a lot of knowledge about how the band works with politics, because when my Uncle Wilfred was alive and my cousin Brenda, Karen, they called me every year, every time the elections were happening, and I always knew what was going on. So it's kind of me here today kind of honoring them because they're not here any longer. And I just feel that, we need more urban members to get involved. We need places, seats at that table. We need to be at the table, and we have to be able to speak up for our issues in the city. Personally, my family has never gotten anything from the reserve. My mother lived to be 97. She never had a home on the reserve. She never got anything from the reserve. Actually, there's still an issue outstanding when she was asked to go to assisted living facility. And I asked the band to help out, and I think that file is still open. They never gave her anything for it. And she passed away in 2019. So really, off reserve, we're actually on our own. We're doing everything for ourselves and making it on our own. So it's really important that we get involved and make sure that, our grandchildren and children have a say nowadays. So that's really one of the reasons I'm running, is to just bring attention to that. I know nobody knows me here and doesn't really know what I do. I actually been living in Vancouver for just a little over 40 years. I have worked for the federal government with Aboriginal Business Canada. I worked with the Indigenous Bar Association as their administrator for about 11 years, and presently I'm retired, but I have my own event production business in the Lower Mainland of Vancouver. I book events and I book artists for performing, and so my biggest client right now is the City of Surrey. I do all of their Indigenous programming for all their annual events they have every summer. So I have, I live in Vancouver. I hear a lot of stuff that's going on out here. And I guess really what I want to do is really, ask the membership when they're doing their voting this time around to really be, careful on how you vote. Make sure that, you think about how you're voting and ask yourself a couple questions. Have any of these candidates run before? And if they have, what have they done that is still, what are their accomplishments? What have they done for the band? What did they offer? And, from where I live, I see the same people on council all the time. I've been 6 years now watching, and it's all the same people. They've come out to Vancouver, sometimes the staff, all the band counselors, and honestly, I have not had one conversation with any of the counselors. So I'm saying, if you're going to run for council, make sure you spend the time to talk to people in the community, especially us that are from out of town. We don't really get to talk to you guys very much, so it's important that you want to do that. Another thing I want to talk about is housing. We never, a lot of members that I talk to that are urban, they never had any homes on the reserve. My mother's never had any in her entire life, and she lived to be 97 years old. I'm 73. I've never had a house on the reserve. I probably never will. I understand from Melissa that the waiting list is 7 years long. I mean, how are you going to accommodate people and give them homes if they have to wait that long? I mean, I might not even be around in 7 years. We have people in Vancouver, homeless people living on the street, Muscowpetung members. Right now, we're paying office rent in downtown Vancouver, which is one of the most expensive places in the country. We're paying office rent. I've been to that office once. I know other members have never even been to the office. I say, why are we spending money on, expensive office rent when we should be helping our members that are living on the streets in Vancouver? The other issue I see a lot when I actually stopped going to the meetings because I was seeing the same thing over and over. I mean, I understand they wanted to, get us more involved. But really, when I went to the meetings in Vancouver, they had the auditor there, they had the bank people there, they had the lawyers there. And I didn't really want to hear that. I wanted to hear, I guess I was confused. Why are we paying big wages, big fees to consultants, to staff that I'm hearing, and those people are the ones that should be up there explaining the band's business. It was brought out in one of the Zoom meetings we had that the consultant that Muscowpetung hired is getting paid $190,000 a year. I was totally blown away when I heard that, $190,000 a year. And apparently other staff are up in that range too. Rumor has it, I'm not sure. $190,000, the mayor of Surrey, the largest city in BC, literally doesn't even make $190,000. I hear rumors that people are getting paid $250,000 a year here on Muscowpetung. The premier of BC makes that kind of money, and he runs the whole province. So I don't know if those are rumors, if they're true or what, but honestly, from my perspective, living in another city, like, you guys are making good money out here. But I did look at the financial statements, and I seen that, now we'll have another set of financial statements coming out now, March 31st. So the ones that we're talking about is a year away, past already. And consultants are being paid. There was over $3 million just spent on consultants. That's just consultants alone. That's a lot of money. And if we're going to be paying those kind of money to people to work for us, what about our members? We're never going to see any more money. We're never going to see any more money because it's all getting spent on consultants and high wages for certain people. Thank you. I wasn't done. Oh, I do? Okay, I thought he told me I was done. Okay, well, anyway, now I lost my train of thought. Anyway, we need to put in places like conflict of interest policies. When people when they're chief and council, when they leave chief and council, are they able to be hired on the band right away and start working there? So these kind of issues are things we talk about and I hear about, and I think they really need to be addressed. And we need to be able to talk to one another about these things. Everybody's so quiet, nobody says anything. Time? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jermaine. We're going to our next councillor candidate that drew number 2 out of the hat. He does have his interpreter up here with him as well too, though. So there's a pair here. So at this time, I'll put the timer on and we'll get started with the time here for 10 minutes. Okay.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Anaquad. I'd like to introduce my younger brother, Eric Anaquad. He is running for council. He offered me tobacco earlier, and it was a moment, right? A moment where I was reminded why we're all here, as Soto people, Cree people. But he has a message, and I was honored to accept this tobacco. And he's gonna speak in his language. I'll let him go ahead.
Anishagok Hitchianishanabik, Ogimaganak, Kikato, Hinanak, Nichi of Danakik, Kina, Nindinaway Haganak, Shigwa, Piwitek, Intamawak.
Hello, old people, elders, chiefs, counselors, my fellow workers, all my relatives and visitors.
Hinunde, Nanakum, Inanim, Kena, Awea, Ma, Ayayek, Nungam, Eric Anaquad, and Shaganashi, Winzawin, Intamawak.
I want to thank you all for being here today. My English name is Eric Anaquad.
Muscowpetung, Ka, Ijinagate, Kashkunagunning, Dundase. Emma, Ma, Shagwa, Uko Igium, Igiguk, Shagwa Kayan, Niwe, Emisayak, Intamawak.
I come from the reserve called Muscowpetung. My mother and late grandmother raised me and my 4 older sisters also.
Ungam Tajujana Nintaya, Shagwa, Iamak, Huchi, Nukian. And an Ako Tamoma, Ayayan, Nungam, Shagwa, the Minuin Dun, the Gishkunanik, Intamak.
Today I live in Regina, and it is there I work and all over the place. I'm thankful to be here today, and I'm happy to meet you all.
Ni Witage, Robin, is Hinakajo, Iti Quim, Shagwa, Itayawak, Nij, Apenunchiak, Pejik, Itanish, Pejik, Igojis, Intamak.
I'm married. Robin is her name, my woman, and I have 2 children, 1 daughter and 1 son.
Gan wika nigi ini kwesi. Gan wika shigwa nigi kiwiskwe nuzisi. Emanachiak niao. Emanachiak niao. Shigwa kina awya shigwa emanachitun. Kinage go. Intamawak.
I never drank and I never did drugs, never in my entire life. I respect my body, left it the same when Creator made me. And I respect everyone and I respect everything, land, trees, animals.
Inundi kanawa pamananik kichi inishinabik. Iongo nitu kikana huwa makeanan. Kikano huma wigonanik chimino bema dijiang. Wintamawak.
I want and we see to look after our old ones. Those are our teachers. They teach us so we can live a good life.
Inunde hakawe min chi kikatu tamawange kichi mamantu. Inunde kikana huma wananik itapanuchi nanik anishinabe moan wintamawak.
We need to speak Anishinaabe so we can speak to the Great Spirit and our ancestors. We need to teach our children Anishinaabe, and children are our future.
Anishinabe moan sawain takwat. Ishine tetenemeha indaso gijik ase ma apachitowan. Kitan namahau temau wininum kina awia. Intamawak.
Anishinaabe is loving. It is very loving. I always pray every day. I use tobacco. I pray for you all, for everyone.
Kana wemina kitewe kananan Muscowpetung. Intamawak.
I keep our drum. I am the drum carrier for our nation, Muscowpetung.
Absis ne hiowewin ne pe pixquanekwa ochin no compan achimok.
I'm going to speak a little bit of Cree now from my late grandmother.
EJ takwana isk e stemak no compan kak kaskemak. Ega kisimon piko waiwak dato kisakau. Dato kisakau piko kak kiawaiwak. Dato kisakau achimok.
I am respecting my late grandmother, whom I miss very deeply. I pray every single day for everyone, no matter who they are. Every single day, I never miss a day.
Mie chimigwich giantutawashik intamawak.
That's it. A big thank you for listening to me.
And an akoma Lynn Cody chi we giakuk Cody ishkuna gunning on dese nindinawe maganak ongo iwite isakus eloquil ki intamawak.
I'm thankful to Lynn Cody for helping me. She comes from Cody Reserve. Those are our relatives, people over there.
Shaganashi mokta shegwa intamawak.
Let's talk English now, Aho.
Nanagoman, everyone. Oh. Yeah, I'm really focusing on our language and culture because I shouldn't have to be going to Kisakus and Cody and Yellow Quill and Key just to attend their ceremonies. We should have those ceremonies back at home. Unfortunately, we don't have a council dance. We don't have a sun dance. And I'm on my way to bring a council dance here back to Muscowpetung. And if I could bring a council dance back, that's what I'm going to do because it happens a few times per winter time. So it would be good because it would seem like there's always a ceremony happening during the fall and the spring and the summertime. So my goal is to bring back some of our traditional ceremonies. And we can't do that without the language. So we need to speak our Anishinaabe-Moan. Otherwise, we can't have these ceremonies. The ceremonies don't mean anything without the language. So I took it upon myself to learn Anishinaabe, also speak a little bit in Nehiyawewin too. And I just learned Anishinaabe last year in January, so that means all of you can learn it too. But that's my only goal as of now, and also is to help out people with entrepreneurships. I can help out with people who want to start their own businesses and things like that. But as of now, I'm strictly focused on my language and culture because that's where the healing starts with our people here. Ichi Anishinaabe. And an Agoman. Yeah. Egosen.
Thank you, Eric. And also thank you to Jermaine. We're going to go to our next candidate, Councillor candidate number 3 that drew number 3 out of the hat. So at this time, we'll go over to Councillor candidate number 3. You can introduce yourself and also I'll reset the clock, okay?
Good evening, Muscowpetung Nation. My mic working? I just wanted to thank my nominator, Dan Pelche, my seconder, I call her Lex Goslin. I just wanted to say my great-grandparents were Leontin Deegan. She was married to Joe Putra, so they were transferred to Muscowpetung. My grandfather's Noel Putra and his wife was Alice. My parents are Calvin Putra, Clarence, and my mother was Muriel McNabb. They broke up when I was about 18 months old, so it was some of the matriarchs that helped me throughout life. Late Violet Keepness and Johnny Mann, I called them Mom and Dad. They gave me a home when I didn't have one. My candidacy for the portfolios I'd like to hold are child welfare. I know what it is to come from nothing. I know what it is to make something of yourself. So it was Muscowpetung Nation that gave me my identity. So I welcome our neighbors near and far from coast to coast. I humbly ask for your support on April 3rd. I'm looking at child welfare. I presently sit on Yellow Thunderbird as a board member. I've hosted then the Capel Child Family Services cultural camps. So we took a lot of our less fortunate. We took them out and we did archery. We did some stuff in the language. The Asniabi language was part of the stuff my late wife wrote a report for the Capel Child Family Services, and we hosted the cultural camp in Standing Buffalo. So I've done a number of those. And our children are less fortunate are really important because when I spoke last summer at Chica Days at our arbor, I welcomed our foster parents back from BC as well as Alberta. I know Rita got upset with me because our Saskatchewan children weren't there, but nobody told me. They didn't include me. I met with all of the directors and I gave them my phone number. I was sitting on child welfare. I was the link between the nation as well as the child welfare. So there was kind of miscommunication that happened, but a lot of the foster parents and their parents come and thank me for what I had to say for our children, as well as our nation members. Many of our nation members didn't grow up on the reserve. I grew up on the reserve other than about 10 years I left, but most of my life has been on the reserve. And there's kind of a disconnect between on the reserve and off the reserve, but we need to bridge those services. I've got Malcolm's daughter I met at the university. They asked me to come and do a pipe ceremony. So I started giving cultural teachings about the pipe and how it was brought to us through the spirit of a woman. And we shared that teachings with all the other nations. So we need to bring that pride back to our females. So I started explaining that, and then I met her one day in the park. I knew her, but I didn't know her from where. And I said, "Hey, I think I know you." And she said, "Yeah." She was a Gosselin, and she told me about Malcolm's my cousin, so he's one of the candidates running also. And then I kind of had to laugh at her. I dropped her a pin on the phone to come out to my place, and she told me, "Oh man, she was just really extremely nervous and worried coming out to the reserve the first time, but she did good." So she sweated with me about 6 times now. So I do a lot of that with our grandchildren from the nation. It's good for them to reconnect and share prayer. So I do a lot of that. I got one of my aunts in the room here that's always kind of advocating for cultural teaching. So I'm helping the ministry in culture and sport. I've got a man coming out by Chris Balzner, I think is his last name. He's Métis, he grew up more Métis, but he's got ties to Causes. So we have many of our nations with a disconnect. But I also wanted to say that it's also education and information for them. So education is important to us. Last week I was doing it's called Walk the Good Road. It's foster parent, it's training on domestic violence really, but it's working with young people where we create good, healthy communication skills. A lot of our young people, it comes over time and money and jealousy, so we give them tools from a traditional lens to help them overcome their barriers as young parents. So the children are really important that we try and stand up these parents as well as foster parents. I know the last one I just want to touch on, 10 minutes doesn't really give us a lot of time, but economic development. I've had met with some of our nation members with the Casino Regina. I'm going to come out and do some prayers with them, as well as they're wanting to mentor and support our First Nation people in the careers of the casino. So we should look at it, mentoring a lot of our young people, supporting them, helping them with the things they need to succeed. Because if they're part of the economy, and that's why I do blanket exercise and a lot of other things with the bureaucrats, because we do need to open the doors for many of our young people. So I'm looking at the time here, trying to cover off as much as I can. And I may be talking extremely fast and normal, but I mean, I'm trying to cover off as many points as I can. I'm also helping bird construction, like what they sponsored 13 nation members. Of the 13, they had a completion of 9 students. So even 9 students in the journeyman electrician program, that's a start. We need to invest in our young people so they can start their own careers, and we need to support them. So it's in line with many of the chiefs and what they were talking about. We need to flesh out our policies in education, child welfare, human justice, and we have lots of experts in the room. We have people like Daryl that's been here before and took Canada on. They need to come back and help us to rebuild our nation so we can feel good about Muscowpetung. I grew up there, and I'm also a proud member that I'm from Muscowpetung. I've got lots of support out there, so I thank them. And I thank all the candidates that are running. I know some of them, my nephew is extremely nervous, but it's just like talking to everybody else. So you're going to do okay. So having said that, I run out of gas. I've been up since 5. I was at the Friendship Center all day talking. I'm kind of played out, but should you have any questions, I was handing out brochures. My cell's on there. You can get a hold of me should you want to talk. And if you have any questions, and it's not so much time constricted, we need to create a dialogue, because with a dialogue, we're going to create better choices, better ideas. We need to come together to support each other. I've got family that, they see things this way and I see things that way. But at the end of the day, we're all going to be nation members. Let's come back together as one and support each other, support whoever gets there. So should you choose to deem me worthy enough on April 3rd, I welcome your support, and I will also get back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Candidate Tim. I'm going to go over to our candidate that drew the number 4 number out of the hat. Again, this isn't just in the numbers that they came out of the hat. So at this time, I'll turn the floor over to yourself. I'll reset the clock here for 10 minutes, and the floor is now yours.
Okay.
Thank you, Johnny. First of all, I want to thank Marilyn for the opening prayer. Good evening to our elders, to the women, to the men, the children, ladies and gentlemen, and members of Muscowpetung. My name is Todd Capo, and I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. And I'm honored to be here and to be able to speak from the heart and ask for your support. I'm running for council. I'm not running for a title. I'm not running for recognition. I'm running because I believe our people deserve strong, honest, and accountable leadership. I'm running because I believe in our nation. I believe in our people. I believe in our youth, our families, our workers, our elders, and our future. And I believe that when leadership is focused and transparent and committed, our First Nation can become stronger than ever before. Tonight, I want to talk about where we are, where we need to go, and what I will work for if I earn your respect and your trust and your vote. We need leadership that serves the people. Too often in many First Nations, we have people that they feel unheard. They feel disconnected from leadership. They feel decisions are made without enough communication, without enough transparency, and without enough accountability. That has to change. Leadership should never be about power over people. Leadership should be about service to the people. A councillor should listen. A councillor should show up. A councillor should be prepared to make tough decisions, but always with the best interest of the nation in mind. If elected, I'll work to be the kind of leader who is accessible, respectable, and accountable to the membership. I will work to communicate clearly. I will work to ensure that members feel informed, included, and respected, because people should not have to wonder what their leadership is doing. People should know. There's three things that I'm campaigning on, is improving the social safety net, improving our governance systems, and creating real economic development. I wrote a speech here, but I'm just going to set it aside. I really want to speak from the heart to you guys and why I'm here and what I'm doing. I nominated David Pratt. I was his nominator. Him and I had an opportunity to sit down and speak. And I and Liz, for the last year or so, talked about reconciliation and working together and understanding. And in a lot of instances, leaders are asking Canada for that reconciliation, that understanding. We're going to Canada and saying, let's reconcile. Let's reconcile. But what we don't do here within our own, internally within our nations, we don't look at a reconciliation process with one another. And I want to encourage that. And I'm going to look at that. And that's my theme. That's why I'm running. I've reconciled with Liz. You know, all of you know, we've sat for 20 years. We've had some really tough, difficult campaigns opposing ends of the political spectrum. I've set those differences aside in a spirit of reconciliation. And I told her, Liz, let's work together. Let's come to an understanding. And we have. And I nominated David. I like David. The kid can rock. That guy can speak, man. He does some really interesting stuff. MSBD and what it's doing to our nation and what it's not doing for our nation. Muscowpetung has put over $3 million in the last 2 years into MSBD. You don't have the numbers yet from 25, 26, but they'll come out. But 2 years ago, there's $600,000 to $900,000 from our trust has gone into MSBD and nothing, no return. Our economic development is stagnant. I'm proposing, working with David, that we will look at establishing grants up to $75,000 for small businesses. I'm not big on these get-rich-quick schemes and working on a major project and getting us all millions. No, I think about small business. We have business people in the room, trained business people, people that have masters, people that have a bachelor's degree in business. We have those people amongst us. Those people we're not even reaching out and engaging. We're not getting them involved. Why? Those questions we can't ask because some of those leaders are not here tonight. We can't ask that question. Maybe on the res we can ask that question. Well, what are we doing with economic development? How come you don't have a shot at your own business? Because nobody's standing with you. Nobody's talking about that because we're afraid. We're so afraid to give a helping hand. But I will pledge to look at an economic development process that's going to work with you guys, that's going to put money into your pocket and into your business. That's how business works. That's how economy works. We don't have our local economy yet on the reserve, but we want to establish that. Our nation has talent. Our nation has ideas. Our nation has potential. And our nation is educated. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the fact that I possess a bachelor's degree in administration. We have people with masters in the room, journalists, educators, social workers, doctors. Our lawyers are not even working for us. There's a problem with our system when we're excluded from it. We have to correct it, and I'll be a part of that change, and I'm asking for your support to make those changes. When we talk about governance, what are we doing? We listen to David talk about his 4 pillars. He's going to talk more about his 4 pillars. But what are we doing with our governance? How do you know how our leadership are spending our resources? You don't, because they're not telling you. Maybe they don't know how to bring that information forward. Maybe they don't know how to tell you, or maybe they just don't want to tell you. Those resources don't belong to chief and council. Those resources belong to you guys, and we have to figure out ways of developing clear decision-making, accountability, transparency, ethical leadership, and fair processes. As we go through our work as leaders, we talk about that. We talk about how do we train leaders. I was first elected in 1994. I didn't have a clue how to be a band counselor. I became chief in 2000. One of the first things I thought when I was sitting in the chief's chair, council waiting for me, what next? I pledge to this room and this table, you people from Muscowpetung, we'll develop a leadership training program for our people to access. We have to start preparing our leaders for the future. There's leaders in this room. In this room here, we can access, train, move forward, and prepare them for the future. I have 9 grandchildren now. I have to make sure that we have a good governance structure in place, that the people that are sitting at this table are not spending on trips to Vegas to watch a concert, to hang out in Vancouver, to hang out in Calgary. These are the things that our people are currently doing right now. And many of us are left out of work. We don't have an opportunity to go to work. We're not being hired. I live out there. I've been living out there for over 30 years. I cannot get a job in Muscowpetung. I possess a degree in business. There's something wrong with that picture. My son's an educator. He has a bachelor's degree in education. He can't get a job at the school. My daughter has a degree in business. She has to work outside. My son, Tony, we have to work outside. There's something wrong with this picture. Let's change that. Let's provide ourselves an opportunity to do better. We can do better. We will do better. And on April 3rd, I ask for your support. Provide me an opportunity. I have a clear understanding. There's no training required for me. I can hit the ground running. I want to work closely with David and our team and making sure that your interests are met, that you have an opportunity to be a part of this process, that you have an opportunity to be a part of the band, decision-making. We have a lot of my friends and relatives here with degrees that are not being accessed. Marmy, we can access you. Kira, we can access you. Candace, Malcolm, all you people that possess degrees, let's come together. We have a journalist, a good journalist in the room here. What are we putting her to work? What are we doing? So on behalf of my family, I ask on April 3rd, allow me an opportunity to serve with David Pratt so we could make a difference for our nation. I don't have a problem stating that I am with David Pratt. I nominated him. I believe in his vision. So thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Candidate Todd. Okay, with that, I'm going to ask Councillor Candidates 5, 6, 7, and 8 to please make their way to the front here. And we'll thank you to the councillors for your speeches this evening as well. Can I have Councillor Candidates 5, 6, 7, and 8 please make your way to the front table here? Damien? Can you get me some couple of napkins? Just the crystal too. Okay, I'll get Councillor 5 to come and sit beside me. 6, 7, and 8. 5, 6, 7, and 8. Again, this is just how the numbers were drawn out of the hat, out of fairness, okay? It's not how they were brought into this world in those numbers in that order, but for tonight's purpose, I got Councillor Candidates 5, 6, and 7 now. And thank you to our Councillor Candidates 1 to 4. Good job, everybody. Okay, with that, I'm going to go right into our next Councillor Candidate, number 5, to introduce yourself, and I'll reset the clock for 10 minutes, and then you can do your time allotted. You don't have to use your full 10 minutes if you don't want to, and we'll have the mics there for all in the front there. Okay. Okay, let me reset the clock. Okay, please be mindful and respectful for keeping the noise down in the back for our councillor candidates during their speeches, everybody. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm resetting the clock, and there you go.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joyce Keepness. I'm the daughter of John and Violet. I heard my mom's name mentioned a few times. I have 3 daughters, 5 grandchildren. I have 3 grandsons and 2 granddaughters, and now I have a great-grandson, and will be having another great-grandson in May. So, and I lived on a reserve all my life. My passion is the drug problem, as Mr. Navis stated. My grandson was telling me about meeting a lot of people on the streets. He said every day there's someone ODing, laying out there, you know, it's sad. It's really sad. And that's where I would like to see a treatment center or something to help our people, maybe out on the land, something, you know, that everybody has ideas on maybe how we could do that. And also in the health area, a lot of our people, when they try to go see a doctor, they're sitting there pretty much all day, and a lot of them have to go back again the next day, until they finally get help. This young girl that I know got bit by a dog, and she was there at the hospital every day, 3 days. She was getting infected, and she finally did get seen. You know, is that the kind of care that our people deserve? No, we don't deserve that. It's one of our treaty rights, the right to health. And I would like to see someone in there speaking for our people at our hospitals. I know my brother passed away not too long ago. He went to the general hospital. He was taken in by ambulance, and they were trying to make him get up, and you go home. And he couldn't stand. So, you know, that's one case. He ended up passing away because first he had a slight stroke, and then them trying to force him to get up maybe caused a massive stroke, and it killed him. And we've had deaths on our reserve from drugs, which we had 2 for sure that I know of. And 2 is too many. You know, that's too many for us to see happening on a reserve. The one was found laying in a ditch by the grader operator. He was missing for days, and when they finally found him, he was in the ditch. So, you know, it's sad. It's sad to see these happening in our community and in our cities, seeing our people living the way they live. Every day, if you go by that center, you'll see all these people out there. Some ODing, there's usually police, ambulance. So we have to handle that. We have to find ways to save our people. I find it really sad, and that's my goal, is to see help for our people, both in the hospitals and on the streets, for the people on the street. One Christmas 2 years ago, I talked with my grandchildren, and I said, this year we're not giving gifts. This year we're gonna put some food out for those that are living on the streets. We made soap, chili, sandwiches, juice boxes, water. We also bought toques and mitts and socks and took them out there. And you know, those people were really grateful. How many of them told us, God bless you? You know, and it made us feel good. And it taught my grandchildren a lesson on kindness, to help out those in need. And that's what I want my grandchildren to learn, to help. And my goal also is to help those that are living out in the cities, and meeting a few of the elders and them talking about how they have to choose between rent, food, you know, and it is tough. It's tough for them, so that's another goal I'd like to see, that help for our elders. I like David's plan on the 4 pillars that he has in place, he wants to put in place if he is elected. And all I'm asking is, you don't have to vote for me if you don't think I'm at that level. And I agree with Jermaine there when she said, think of who you're voting for. Think of what they do, what they can do. And that's how I base it. I ask for your support for David. You don't have to vote for me if it's not in your plan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Candidate Joyce. Okay. And you can just stay up here with us too. How are you guys?
Okay.
All right, no,
Greetings.
You have to go, yeah. Okay,
Elders.
Hold on, Councillor. I'm just going to
sorry.
Yeah. I'll just reset the clock here.
Okay.
And you can introduce yourself. And here we go right now. Go.
Okay, greetings, elders, relatives, fellow members of our nation. I'd like to thank the Elder Marilyn, Elder Tim for the prayers. My name is Malcolm Goslin. I'm the son of Ron and Eileen Goslin, grandson of Bruno and Madeline Potra Goslin, both of which were residential school survivors, great-grandson of Joseph Potra and Leontine. I have 2 sons, 2 daughters, and 2 grandchildren myself. And it is with respect and humility I am putting my name forward as a candidate for council. I would like to acknowledge my Auntie Paulette Goslin for nominating me, my Auntie Audrey Marshall for being the seconder. And I'm doing this out of a desire to serve and contribute to the continued strength and well-being of our nation. I believe that all members have to share a collective role in this nation's future, whether they live on or off Muscowpetung. So a little bit about me. I'll be the first to admit, I did not grow up on our nation. Grandpa and Grandma, they moved away from Muscowpetung back in the days when children were being grabbed. And they moved to the southeast corner of the province to take up farming. And by the time I came around, you know, there were some wonderful people in that area that helped them with, you know, they gave them a piece of land, they gave them some seed, some tools, and away they went. And all of a sudden we were managing around 300 head of cattle. And it was there that I learned about hard work and responsibility. So later on in my professional career, I was fortunate enough to get a job as a power line technician with SAS Power. And that turned into a 33-year career, the last few of which I worked as a safety professional. I would go out and mentor the young people getting into the trade, making sure they're working safely. And it was those years at SAS Power that I remember always being involved in working to develop policies, procedures, developing budgets, working within budgets. And those are the kind of things that is just normal to me and that I would like to bring to this nation. My father also ended up working at SAS Power after we downsized and eventually gave up the farm. And he was instrumental in developing a program where we went out to the First Nations to talk to the high school kids about the opportunities to work at a trade or a profession. You know, just finish your high school. The opportunities are endless. So with my various connections with trades, I would like to work with our youth and find willing companies to sponsor them into an apprenticeship program. There may be other professions that interest our young people. We can find those types of partnerships. So then after this 33-year career, I chose to take early retirement. Climbing poles was a little tough on the back and the knees, and I just thought, you know what, I'm not afraid of education. I'll do something else. And I thought, well, what can I do now that I can utilize to give back to our nation, was my thought. And so I took a 2-year course. I got my professional financial planning designation. And in those 5 years, helped many First Nation people. But it just turned out to be just anybody that needed advice with their financial planning. So I look at these days, we have people making tax-exempt income. We have people making taxable income. And we've got people that are making a combination of both. And when we had those meetings with CIBC, I asked them, it's great that you come and you show us all the big interests we're making on our settlement. And what are you doing for the individual people? Like, we're now getting money that, you know, these people are getting money and it's going through their fingers. And fair enough, the lady said, well, that's not my department, but we could look into seeing if we could, you know, get somebody out there to, you know, put on some kind of presentations. So I'd like to oversee something like that to make sure that, you know, we continue the financial literacy in the high school. I understand that it's there, but also, you know, what is being for the urban members for supports. There may be young people that just need to know about budgeting or what to invest in. You know, there's different things that they can do to save for a vehicle, for a house. So as business owners, you know, we talked about business owners, they're going to have specific needs. You know, CIBC can help with all those kind of things. And if they don't give us the resources for that, we'll find somebody that will. So this brings me to today. I'm working for an agricultural equipment company that created a position for me to work with First Nations. I assist them with infrastructure needs, such as, you know, the housing projects. They need water tanks, septic tanks. Their fire departments need fire suppression equipment. We build that. If they're doing their own farming, we supply the farming equipment. I believe I will be a valuable resource for the next 4 years, as this leadership will need sound, level-headed decision makers at the table. This is going to be an important 4 years for all of us. So, yes, business decisions, We need to ask these fundamental questions going forward, no matter who the leadership is, and every one of us need to ask these questions. Will it generate revenue for the nation? There's lots of ways to make money out there. But the follow-up question is, will it create employment for our people? Are we making those decisions that, you know, our young people can move into or come home to work? We've talked, I don't know how many times, about the professionals and the people that we have on our nation. Are we utilizing our own people? In other words, do we have the qualified people to provide the service? If not, are we looking at other First Nations that have qualified personnel or entities? Okay, no. Okay, then are we looking at 3 quotes from non-First Nation people or companies? Not the other way around. We must commit to listening to our people, reflect the voices and concerns of the membership. We talked about bringing the elders back to the table. They need to be included in major decisions that affects all of us. They have the knowledge, the experience. I'm grateful for the guidance of the elders, the strength of the families, and the potential of all our youth. Together, we carry forward the responsibility to build the future that honors those that came before us. I think of my grandparents and my dad, who just passed away a few weeks ago, and those yet to come, generations that are going to benefit from the direction that we take in this next 4 years. And I thank you for your consideration and the opportunity to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Candidate Malcolm. We'll go to our next Councillor Candidate, number 7. And so I'll reset the clock, and you can introduce yourself, and you have 10 minutes here. So I'm resetting right now. Okay, go ahead.
Anicha Joaquin. My name in Soto is Maskigi Makwa. My born name is Tim Rosebluff. I hail from Muscowpetung. I come from my late parents, who were leaders at the time. They built a legacy for us. We carried on. Bringing that, we worked with councillors in the past, chiefs. We bought in stuff to Covida, water, protection, so forth like that. Those claims we worked on. I'm a descendant of the late, great John Gambler, who opened up many doors for us with the FSIN, so forth like that. Little people don't know that. And when I mean little people, the ones that are in a band and stuff like that, they don't know the history of where it came, how it was formed. I'm a descendant of those family, and that this is why I'm running for council to bring in, working with the young, with the children that are locked in a system. A lot of people talk about that, but they don't know the history of what we have as a parent, what we go through, what we see, what we are dealing with at this moment. Biologically, by blood, the children ain't mine or my daughters, but they were given to them when they were abandoned in a hospital. They cannot speak for themselves. They found them through social media. Last name, they come knock on their door and dropped off children that was 3 weeks old, abandoned in a hospital. What are we to do with that? I had nowhere to go, no idea. We had to be stuck under that system, the social work system in Regina here. And that was very hard to do, and still yet today. We are in court over that. We didn't ask for reach out and get the resources. We pulled together as a family. We got a lawyer. We're working on that. I don't have a master's degree or anything on fighting this system, but we learn as we go. You take a look around, there's children here that can't speak for themselves. This is where we have to defend them in the future. They will be descendants of us. This is where the monies come together. We have to protect them. We have to work together. We cannot be bickering at all amongst each other. Let down your guards and we work together and carry on for the protection of the children. I am 57 years old. I've been on a power trail, 51. As each of us are given a gift in our community, as the gentleman right there that spoke, he's a drum keeper. The other one is a pipe keeper. We weren't born into that. We were given those as we grew up. I was given the ability to dance, to carry on, to tell the stories on the dance floor. And as years went by, I still dance today. I'm out there dancing, telling my stories, protecting the little ones. We are, as dancers out there, we are not battling against each other. We are working together, protecting us traditional dancers. But the ones we are battling is the drum. We have to listen to those words. We have to listen to the heartbeat of the nation, the drum. When they carry on, we challenge them. We don't fight amongst them. We don't do that. We put up our guard. We pour it on in our dance floor. We tell our stories, protect our people. You got to listen to the songs out there. They are singing, "This is for you, warriors." What you're doing out there is bringing our people home, protecting them, watching over our children. If you understand it, it's hard when you're not Dakota. It's even harder when you don't even understand your own language. At 57, I'm trying. I got a Soto book when I was in university, and I read that pretty well every day. I still yet today don't know the full Soto language. As we get older, we learn something new every day. And with that, and this is what I'm saying, we have to work together. What you see right here is calm, peace. This is what we like to see when we have a band meeting. The children out there playing around, running around, working together. Have something up there like that to bring out the finances. Where do we stand? All different categories that we have, our lands, our social work, everything like that, our health dollars. Where are they? How can we get that? Put them up there and work together like this. And each and every one you can ask the questions. If we succeed in getting into council, to work together, to be there for one another, not fight amongst each other. We have to make that stand together, come together. And there was many years there when I was a school teacher's aide. I went ahead. I quit there. I went to Leading Thunderbird Lodge. I worked with the youth there, with the trouble boys. We showed them how to do things, took them out shed hunting, looking for stuff like that. They have to be heard. They want to be listened to, not corrected. Some of them right now succeeded in what they do. I'm proud of them. This was many years ago. They're men now. They have families. Tim and some of us work there. They come to us, they see us, and they thank us for guiding us for what we do. Many people don't know we do that. I do that. I did that. I quit. I went into council. I worked there for 2 years. We worked together. Great opportunity to work with good chief, council. We got along. We bought out our flood claim. We worked it, but that legacy was put there. We picked it up. We bought it out. We bought it forward. Those are the things we have to get together and work. We can listen to each and every one of you. Come forward. We cannot solve each problem or give you something, but we'll figure it out together when we work that way. And after that, I went in plain of dirt. Got called up from Rocky Mountain House Oil Company, and we were on a pipeline. I was there for 2 years working. I slept in my truck, beginning. This company looked at me and said, okay, this guy has something. He's here. He's not going to go home. He has a family. They picked me up. They took me. I got my 1As from them. I got my heavy equipment advancing from them. I worked fixing their diesels, their trucks, their brakes, everything like that. I stayed with that company that long. And when we got shut down from protests of this pipeline energy, they didn't realize us people, we had families we have to support. I understand where they were coming from. But from there, we didn't have to apply for a job. We got transferred to the potash. And that's where we built the roads. their berms, their dams. We knocked down trees, the dozers. And believe me, that's where it ended my career when I got injured there. And I picked it up. The doctors believe I was going to walk. And here I am today. Yes, I fight diabetes. And these are the issues that we have to work together for health. Because there's times there when I fight for children, we are going through that. And when I came home from a powwow last year, there was twins, newborns. The same issue happened. Their mother abandoned them. They were in my house. And I said, what the hell? They were there, put there for a purpose. They weren't our blood, but we still yet care for them. And that's another battle with the system, social work, to get them out of that, bring home something on our reserve, to house them, a safe shelter for children so they won't be taken off into Regina, Saskatoon, because that happened to my granddaughter. She's 5 years old. She got taken out of school from that. She got reported, there was a bruise on her first year. She was putting on makeup at the marker and it couldn't wash off the next day. I understand they have their work to do to protect the children. But when you bring out the police and social services, they take these kids away, and that's sad to see them going in that police car and getting taken away into Regina here. We fought hard to get her out at 11 o'clock that night, and we did, and she's back at home with us. This happened a month ago. And those are the things we have to have our very own educated people that we can work with, that are out there, that have those, that can show us what to do. We need that. I don't have any experience that, but I'm learning as I go. And I will fight for the children. I will protect them. As long ago, I was reading histories of what my great-grandfather have left. This is where we have to honor our elders. There are the pillars in our community. They said hi, the chief, the headman, then the band. It goes back again, back on top. When something addressed from the band members, they tell the elders, each and every one of you come from a big family. Listen to what they have to say. Give direction to the chiefs. Come out, carry it out. The chief will let us, if we succeed in that, let the headman know. Then we'll work together and start something positive for the children. Okay, sorry about that.
Thank you, Councillor Candidate Tim. We'll go to our next Councillor Candidate, number 8, as drawn out of the hat. So at this time, I'll reset the clock for you. And go ahead.
Good evening, Tanse and Neen, my relatives. I am Courtney Dawn Anaquad. I am the daughter of Donnie Anaquad, also known as Donald. I am the granddaughter of Morris Anaquad and Trace Anaquad. Morris Anaquad was well known for his fiddling and bringing community together to enjoy that enjoyment when our members needed it, or other nations. My kukum Trace Anaquad was a lovely dancer. And I'm proud to be their granddaughter, and I'm proud to be the daughter of Donnie Anaquad as well. Our elders are a foundation for our families. You know, I lost my grandparents in 2000 and in 2006. So I grew up, you know, having to learn on my own as well, but yet still carry their stories within my heart that I still remember. Our elders are those foundations. Our elders are the ones that guide us through our lives. And I enjoy listening to our elders, and I enjoy the guidance that I have got from my elders. Leading up to this leadership role, it's not just a role, but it is also a responsibility. I was nominated by 2 elders, Patricia Tuckenow and Eugene Yellowtail. Who am I? I'm a model and a cultural dance instructor, a mental health and addictions advocate, a strong voice for our youth. I'm also a motivational speaker and storytelling who believes in the power of sharing our experience to inspire and uplift. As a mother of two, I have a daughter and a son. I have a son who's going to be 21 and a daughter who's going to be 17 just next week. I understand the importance of creating strong, supportive pathways for our next generation. I carry a deep passion for serving my people and committed to helping strengthen our community and building a better future for our nations and generations to come. My priorities and plan of action is building real results for our communities. As you can see on the tables, I handed out a little poster, but I have so much more ideas that I could bring to the table as well. I come from a lived experience and work experience as well. And I didn't get here overnight either. My experience, I am the Muscowpetung Urban Services Coordinator for the Saskatchewan region, which is the largest region. I also worked as an Aboriginal liaison worker for the Saskatoon Public School Board in Saskatoon and various other schools across Saskatchewan. An addiction support worker, transitional home supervisor, a program director for teen parents, a housing manager, an emergency receiving worker for apprehended children, a mentor for incarcerated youth. I didn't choose my career, the Creator chose my career for me and the path that I'm leading. And my lived experience and my family's lived experience has inspired me in the work that I do with mental health, addictions, advocacy work for domestic violence, as I had 3 domestic violence relationships, which I left my last one in 2013 and I didn't look back. I also fought my battles of alcoholism, and I'm going on my 10-year sobriety this year. I'm also the youngest one of the youngest ones that's running in our leadership roles in this campaign. What I would like to do is strengthen the support systems, work with health, addictions, and mental health services to ensure members can access the help they need without those barriers. We heard a lot of the candidates speak on a lot of these topics because our people do face those barriers in the health systems. What I like to do is continue creating opportunities and employment opportunities for our members to be able to be those advocates for our members that are facing those barriers and those struggles within the health systems. By being able to, go to the provincial government, the federal government, the municipalities, and continue to fight for our people, our members, our relatives, and those ones that are struggling. Improve housing solutions. Advocate for practical housing strategies that address shortages, support families, and create those safe, stable homes for members. And that looks like partnering, within the cities, in the urban cities, with housing partnerships to be able to create those safe and affordable housings, whether it's buying pieces of land and building apartment buildings for our members or our students that are going to school, or also building transitional homes, shelters for men and women and our youth. Empower youth through culture. Support programs that reconnect youth to language, land, and culture teachings while creating those pathways forward. Because a lot of our youth are disconnected. A lot of our youth are facing still today incarceration. They're also battling mental health and addictions. And also child welfare they're facing as well. Our youth need to be reconnected, and what that looks like also too is creating and building a youth committee with our on reserve youth and our off reserve youth and bringing them together to build a plan and build that in unity, because our youth are those next generations. Create pathways to employment and education, help members navigate training, education, and job opportunities by connecting them with the right programs and the resources. We do have a lot of talented and educated members that come from Muscowpetung. And what I would like to do is build those training opportunities so we can utilize our members in these transitional homes, in these addiction services, and build those opportunities, which then also encourages our young ones to get into the leadership roles. Lead with experience and accountability. Use the years of frontline experience in community service, youth support, and housing to advocate for meaningful and measurable progress. So I humbly ask for your support on April 3rd, and put your trust in me, a strong voice for the next generation. I'm paving those ways for our younger generations, just like our ancestors paid for us and fought for us. And I would like to still continue to fight for us. So I humbly ask for your support on April 3rd. And I would like to continue building on the growth Muscowpetung has. And I sit and I stand with Chief Melissa Tavita and continue building that empire for Muscowpetung. Hi, hi.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Candidate Courtney. That concludes our second panelist. Our third panel and final candidates. I need to call candidates numbers 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 to please come up to the front, and that'll be our last 4 speakers of the night. Thank you so much, sir, Councillor candidates. Thank you so much. Yeah. Can I please have Crystal, and can I have Damien to the front here, please? Number 8. Yeah, so we got to do 9. 9 will come right here. 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. That's it, right?
Yeah. Questions, yeah.
Remember, all 12 of them have answered the same question. So I'm going to limit it to 3. I'm going to have to limit the number of questions. This is going to go.
Yeah. I wonder how we should do it. Yeah.
These candidates sit here, and then that table, the other candidates can sit there. Okay, thank you, everybody. We'll continue on with our last four speakers of the night. Again, thank you so much for your adherence to keeping the noise down and paying your due diligence and attention to our speakers, and also being respectful of them and giving them the floor and giving them that not disturbing them while they're doing their speeches. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate and acknowledge that. Thank you so much. So again, out of fairness, the speakers will be drawn as their names were pulled out of the hat. We'll have our next speaker, speaker number 9, 10, 11, and 12, and so on, as per out of fairness and as per their names being drawn out of the hat. Okay. So we'll get our first speaker up to speak. Introduce yourself, and I'll reset the clock to 10 minutes, okay? Okay, keep the noise down, everybody.
Okay, thank you. Tante, Hanin, Nigam Beta, Nanaskaman, Anochkagi Sigak, Jacqueline Anaquad, Nitsigasun, Ao Cheyan, Treaty 4 Territory, Nigawi, Angeline Anaquad, Sigasu, Note Dawi, Ken Sinclair, Ke Sigasu. My name is Jacqueline Anaquad. First, I'd like to thank Creator for this day. I'd also like to thank our elder for the prayers and also for all of the food. The introduction that I just gave is a traditional introduction. Usually when we meet someone, we go on to ask, who's your mom, who's your dad, who's your cookum, who's your mushum? And that's a way for us to place each other. My mother is Angeline Anaquad from Muscowpetung, Soto Nation. My late father is Ken Sinclair from Gordon's. My cookum and my mushum were both from Muscowpetung, and my grandma, again, is from Gordon's. So I have relatives all over Treaty 4 territory. I always used to joke, that's why I was single for so long, because I was related to everyone. Anyways, I was nominated for a counselor position. I thought it over, and it was my mom and Liz Pratt that nominated me. I accepted the nomination, and I didn't do it just with no thought whatsoever. There was other families that had approached me in the prior months leading up to nomination day, actually. And I thought about it and I prayed on it. And I decided to move forward. And I'm really honored that I'm able to be in this position. I'm really honored that I'm able to go out and talk to all the members and to listen. Because that's what I've been doing. I've been talking, I've been listening. Some of you know me already, but for those of you that don't, I grew up, I was born and raised in Regina. So I was an urban Indian for so long. But I always longed to come home to the reserve. That was always a goal of mine. It was really hard living in the city, but we always remained connected to Pipewad and Muscowpetung through my cookum, my late cookum. At a very young age, our family was caught in like those toxic generational cycles that we're all trying to break. Addiction, poverty, violence, that intergenerational trauma. I was mad at my mom for so long until she told me her story. And that's when I began to understand that all of our people carry some sort of hurt. And that's what really motivated me to go to school. I went to school. I went and got my mental health and addictions diploma. I wanted to work and help our people. I was newly sober, following that red road, and I tried my hardest. From there, I decided I needed more education because I wanted to do more. I wanted to help more. I wanted to help our people more. So I went to the university and I got a Bachelor of Health Studies with a concentration in Indigenous health. And then from there, I went into a master's program at the University of Victoria. And I entered a Master's of Science program in Social Dimensions of Health. I'm currently working on my thesis. It's on how the Cree language affects our health. So the health area, the aspect, I've also been an Indigenous health researcher for the past 15 years. I taught at the university. I'm a sessional instructor. So I teach at University of Regina and the First Nations University of Canada. Lately, I've also been doing contracting. What I'm trying to get at is, I worked really hard to get where I am today. I didn't have a lot of help. Everything I did on my own as a single mom, and Muscowpetung, I was blessed that they chose to fund me, So I always had this something inside of me that I was going to come back to my reserve and I was going to help my reserve in any way that I could. I wanted to invest that education back into my people. And I was like, one day I'm going to go back, I'm going to move home. And that happened. My mom, she got her house, our family got a house. And she told me, she said, we were sitting in that house, it was just empty. She said, this is all of our house, our whole family. She said, you never have to worry about being homeless again or never having a home. And this big sense of relief, because living in the city, you never know when you're going to get evicted or something. It's really hard. I feel for the people that are living in the city today. There's a lot of things that we need to work on. I know that my daughter, I have one daughter, she lives here with my 4 grandbabies, they're 10, 9, and then I have twins. We were blessed with twins. My mom is a twin. So I see the struggles that my daughter has, So where I am today, when I decided to run, I'm ready to serve. I know what it means because I've worked for Muscowpetung and I sat there with chief and council. I worked right alongside them for 3 years. I know the sacrifice that it takes. The people are first. They're before you. And I understand that it's a lot of sacrifice, it's dedication. Lately, we've been hearing accountability, transparency. I understand what those words mean. I've worked on many boards. I sat on the board of governors for so many different organizations. Volunteering has been a big part of my life. So I understand accountability and transparency. I have a lot of things that I want to get through and I probably won't. So a couple of things that I wanted to mention for the areas that I want to work on. For me, I want to work with employment, mental health and wellness opportunities, educational opportunities, because education changed my life. And I want to see our youth, our young adults, our adults, because I started later on in life. I didn't start as a youth. I didn't start right out of high school. I started as a mature student. So I believe that anybody can turn their life around at any time. We all have it in us. So those are the areas I want to work on. One thing that I want to continue on is something that my mom started, Angeline. She worked for NADAP at Muscowpetung for 20 years. And one of the things that she started was a culture camp, a grandmother's camp. And I want to see that continue on. She never got to see the full 4 years. Thank you. So I want to see that continue on. When you do something like a culture camp or any type of ceremony, you got to commit to 4 years, and the elders are really strict about that. So I would love to see a huge culture camp for the next 4 years if I get elected in. We could bring our urbans home. We could have a big campground. Maybe it'd be too close to the Powell, but we could do something like that. Economic development. One quick thing, housing. Housing is such a big, sensitive topic, but in all my research that I did in health, housing is a foundation. It's so integral to our individual house. We need a home. We need safe homes. So that's another thing that I want to look at. And there's so many strategies out there. There's so much literature and education out there on how we can improve our housing program and how we can build on what we already have. So I want to look at that. I think that's important to our health. I'm going to end because I have 30 seconds left. I just want to say that, I'd be a powerful advocate. I know how to speak up for myself. I wouldn't sit idly by. I'd be a voice for the people. I know how to stand up for myself, and that goes with lobbying the government, speaking with officials, but I'm also a team player. I look forward to speaking with more of you. I've been out there visiting, and I'm going to continue to do that for the next 2 weeks. But I know, oh, that's it. Exe.
Okay, thank you, Councillor candidate Jacqueline. Okay, yeah, it's good. Okay, we'll go on to our next councillor candidate, number 10. I'll reset the clock here, okay? And let's see, reset. Okay, go ahead.
Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Cody Keepness. I'm a husband, a father of 4, and the son of Lynette Keepness and the late Donald Keepness. I've lived on the reserve my entire life, and I've had the opportunity to work both on and off reserve. For the past 2 years and 7 months, I've had the honor of serving our nation as the Public Works Supervisor. During this time, I've gained valuable experience working for our community and seeing firsthand the needs, the challenges, and also other strengths of our people. I'm running for council because I care about our community and the future of our nation. I believe actions speak louder than words. Anyone can make promises during this election. I want to help build a stronger future for our families, our youth, and generations that will come after us. One of the biggest priorities we need to focus is creating more revenue for our nation. We have land and opportunities that can help generate revenue. If elected, I will support development that brings money back into our nation so we can support our programs, services, and future growth. Another important issue is housing. Many families are waiting for homes, and our community continues to grow. By creating more revenue and development, we can support building more houses for our members. I also believe in supporting our recreation areas so families and youth have safe, positive spaces to gather and stay active. Our youth and our future of this nation, I want to see a youth center, youth programming that give the young people positive activities, guidance, and opportunities to grow. At the same time, I believe in equal opportunity for all community members. Everyone deserves equal respect and equal opportunities within our nation. We also need to focus on employment opportunities for our members. We have many hardworking and talented and educated people within our community. Creating more jobs locally will strengthen our families and keep opportunities here at home. If elected as councillor, I will look for funding opportunities and put in the work for every portfolio that I sit on. Most importantly, I will listen to the people. Together, we can create more opportunities, support our youth, build more housing, and move toward a future where our nation is strong and independent. Thank you for your time, and I would truly appreciate your support.
Okay, thank you, Councillor candidate Cody. We're going to proceed on to our next Councillor candidate, number 11, as pulled out of the hat, out of fairness. So at this time, I'll reset the clock. And the floor is now yours.
Hi, good evening. My name is Tiffany Sear Capo. I am the happy wife to Justin Capo. We have 5 beautiful children at home, and I would just like to start by thanking my nominators, Elder Tommy Capo Sr. and Elder Donnie Anaquad. I want to thank our cooks and our helpers in the back for providing our meal tonight and just with the services that they continue to do at our events. I'd also like to do a special shout out to Candy and Johnny for organizing our event tonight. I know events aren't easy to organize, and I just want to say thank you for everything you've done for us. My name is Tiffany Sear Capo. My parents are late Lindsay Sear and Lorraine Sear. My mom was McKay from Muscowpetung First Nation. We were born here. I was born onto Muscowpetung in 1980. I was a proud member till I was about 7 years old, and my dad transferred me to Pasco when I got into school, and he realized I was from Muscowpetung and not from Pasco. So he was chief at the time of Pascua, so he transferred me over. When I got with my husband, it was an easy transition. I knew immediately I wanted to transfer home. I grew up here. I got my first summer job here. I've done everything. All my firsts happened in Muscowpetung. I lived with my late Aunt Vivian and my uncle Bob Anaquad on Muscowpetung. So I just wanted to share that. I'd like to speak tonight about administration. I'm a band admin in our office. I continue to help each and every department on administration side. Anything that slips through the cracks kind of falls on my desk, which is okay because we're a team and that's how things need to get done sometimes. So we stick together and we continue going together as a team, trying to get things done for our people. The goal in our office is giving everyone a better quality of life, and I hope to continue that, serving as another role in the community, I should say. I don't want to jump the gun and say I'm going to be there, but I just wanted to talk about a little bit about accountability. I was raised with my dad in my later years. He taught me a lot about being accountable, and he stressed to me every day that accountability is something that it's not just applied through our jobs, but it is applied throughout our life. He told me that we are going to be accountable in this life. We'll be accountable to our jobs. We'll be accountable to our people. We'll be accountable to our families. We'll be accountable for our time. We'll be accountable for our money. And we will be accountable even for the thoughts that run through our head. So I stand on that as a person and as a member of our community. I stress that accountability is something that we all need to practice in our everyday lives. I know that things are divided a little bit right now, and I'm sure it's probably like that every election and every First Nation. I know that we're going to overcome all of this though and strive forward, and that's what we're all about is unity and continuing to be unified throughout this process. So I would like to talk about communications, and our members deserve regular updates, not just the information during elections or major issues, communications to reach our members in different ways, including the meetings, social media, emails, phones, mail, building our bridges to address the term on reserve and off reserve members are to be treated equally. We will improve communications by being more consistent, more clear, and community engagement to hear what the band members need. Our culture and traditions. I was raised both ways. My dad was heavily into the traditional way, and my mother was a Christian, and she taught us how to pray. I believe in both. I take the good from both my culture and my religion, and that just makes the person I am today. But revitalizing our language and our protocols, connecting our culture. If COVID taught us anything, it reminded us how strong and resilient we are. Many ways of communication and sharing healthy knowledge through Zooms and face-to-face phone conversations will always be available to our members. Employment opportunities, creating job opportunities, training, and support for growth for all band members. We talked a little bit about having a community garden, not only on our nation, but maybe in each city. And doing that, maybe it could create some job opportunities for our people. We also talked about youth and elders and how we can bring youth and elders back to the table. I strongly believe that our children are definitely watching us and how we go forward. My twins are 18 years old. this year. And my junior, he watches us every day. He watches how we deal with things, how we solve our problems. He constantly is striving to be a better person, and I love that about him, that he continues to do that. And we don't have to remind him, but our children are what we need to start focusing on. Maybe bringing our children, taking two of the youth to the table when they have chief and council meetings, and just showing them what it is to be in those leadership roles, because those are our future leaders, and we need to start showing them what needs to be done at that table, right? And so then we talked a little bit about starting a youth group. When we were younger, we created our own youth group out on Muscowpetung. We used to play in the boardroom when we were 15, 16. We would play chief and council, and we would all, I'm going to be the chief, I'm going to be the counselor. And there was all of us all growing up together. And we did that for ourselves. We didn't have anybody to organize it for us. We did it on our own. But we have the capacity to do that for our children now, and giving them those roles and the responsibilities, I think would really help just to structure and build those leadership roles for them, showing them how to go on and go about it, right? And also elders, an elders committee, and oh my goodness, I only have 2 minutes left. An elders committee where they can be an advisory board. We also talked about maybe even creating a hiring committee to make those recommendations of who can be hired and things like that. I have too much to talk about. I just want to say I'm very honored and very thankful for being given this opportunity to speak with everybody today. And I just want to say thank you all for coming out, and thank you for listening to us. We all have a shared dream here, and we all have motivation to keep our nation going forward. And I know that we'll continue to do that in a good way. Thank you for listening to us today. Hi.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Candidate Tiffany. We'll go to our last speaker of the night. I'll let him introduce himself, and he's got 10 minutes. I'll reset the clock at this time, okay? And go ahead.
Testing. Ani, c'est quoi? Ingauduja, Kaza. My name is Kirby Benjo. I think a lot of you know me. You know who I am. I was born and raised in Muscowpetung. I'm the son of Harold Benjo Sr. and Levina Benjo. And I live on the muddy road right now of Benjo Hill. For the last 10 years, I've spent my time in Saskatoon because I've had a sick son. But he's kind of inspired me to kind of wake up to the needs of our people. When I take a look at his needs, we're lacking in our community. I'm not saying that it's Chief and Council's fault. It isn't. We kind of all have to work together because it takes community to raise kids. I can't bring them home because there's no gravel, because we're short. We're underfunded. That's not Chief and Council's fault. I'm a trucker by trade, a subcontractor. I got my grade 12. I have some business training behind me. And I kind of find it ironic when I come back to the res, we don't have gravel on the roads, but I haul gravel for a living. I haul rock. I run my own little subcontract business up there in Saskatoon. But having said all this, I think we can do better in our community. We have a lot of talented individuals in here. Some are in business, journalists, health. our language teachers. We have a lot of people working out there. They have their degrees. And how do we bring them back to the community? How do we make this possible? Because it used to be every 2 years with the elective system, and 2 years wasn't enough. Now it's 4 years. That gives us a little bit of leeway of time to work with one another. How do we bring these people back? How? And I want a consultation from the community, because I want to come back. I want to contribute, and I want the people to contribute. I see a lot of our people going homeless in the cities. And why? Because there's a housing crisis. I had 2 brothers that passed away due to drug use. And they suffered from their mental illnesses. When they did try to come back, we had no supports in place for them. Let's put those supports in place for them. Because I'm hearing from a lot of people, from a lot of communities, that we're not the only ones. How do we battle this? Let's pull together. How do we fix our housing? When I went around the reserve visiting some of the people, they told me, they said, you're the first person that I've seen to come visit and knock on my door in 4 years. Are we not checking on each other? Because a long time ago, our people used to visit one another. Nowadays, with social media, COVID, shut that all down. Let's take the time for one another. It starts in our community. But they're not the only ones, because we all came from somewhere. We all came from Muscowpetung. We have a lot of our urban members out there. We have 400 people living on reserve. 1,800 people out there, but there lives 1,400 out. How do we solve this? Let's integrate our people in all our cities. I've seen Courtney out there working, and she's overwhelmed. We need to do more. Business. The outgoing chief and council have done a very good job, this administration. And I know it's a very tough job. And I want to refrain from the mudslinging. So I'm not that type of a person. I'd rather build. I'd rather move forward, look forward. They did a good job. There's a lot of things in place that I haven't seen from the community. I see a lot of results. We have a POW arbor. We have a new band office going up. But we could do more. Housing. It always boils back to that. There's a lot of people that want to come back. How do we fix this? It's one of our treaty rights. So is education. I heard from one of the people here. My sisters are in the same boat. They want to finish their masters, but they're told they don't live on the reserve. It's only for the other kids, and we're badly underfunded. But how do we fix this? I was talking to one of the former chiefs, and I said that if we're going to build a new school, and it's going to take a while, some of these old facilities we could be using to train our people. Let's utilize these buildings. Let's utilize our people. Let's train them. I want to see more doctors, more nurses, lawyers, healthcare aides, respirologists. I want to see all of this for our community. Teachers. We have a lot of talented individuals living out there. One of the things that my family took on about a few years ago, the bison. My family brought it to me. They said that, how do we solve people from going hungry? That's what they asked me. I said, well, let's put the buffalo fence up. I said, I'd rather give something back to the community. That's our family's way of giving back. The homes in the bottom. We want to build those for the people. Because I want to bring more people home. I see our people suffering out there. I want this for everybody. I'm trying to. Whenever I run into somebody, I try to talk to everybody. I try to greet them positively. When I talk about our food sovereignty, I had one of the former band councillors. He asked me, he said that, how do we solve this? Well, we create a mini farm. We could feed our people. Food prices are getting expensive in the city. Rent is going crazy. Our people are being forced to the streets. And when that happens, a lot of them have nowhere to go. What do? Our TLE shortfall. We could be using that to be buying land in the city, buildings. We have enough people here with enough business knowledge to be putting that together. And when I talk about accountability and transparency, I don't mean it in the fact that, well, let's get mad at everybody else. No, let's put a good financial team in place. Let's put an elders committee. We have a lot of former leaders in here. Let's put a chiefs committee. We have old Eugene, Paul Putras, Todd Capo, Liz Pratt. We have a lot of former chiefs, a lot of knowledge. Why aren't we utilizing them? I know there's every 4 years we all have the differences. Let's put your differences aside. Let's try to work together. You know, I'm trying my best on our end. And I tell my family all the time, we all know each other. I said, we're all related somehow because we came from here. We're a band of families. I was always told to look at this job. You're not a counselor. You're not a head person. You're just a helper, they told me. So if you want to speak for the people, he told me, help bring your experience back, your knowledge. Help them, they told me. I ran to a former chief about a month ago. And he told me, he said that when the people come to you, he said, our job is not 9 to 5. You could be sitting in a ceremony on a Sunday afternoon, cutting wood, and somebody will come up in emergency need. Sit there and listen to them. And what I have to say to all the candidates, whoever gets in there, take the time for everybody. This is not a government job. We're still neighbors, relatives. Take the time for one another. Pick up your phone. If somebody's calling, they need it. Because there's a lot of suffering going on in the cities. Urban members, even our own people.
Time's up.
Hell, Chief McGutch.
Thank you, Councillor Candidate Kirby. Okay, I'm going to ask to stay seated right now. Okay, we've come to that portion of the night, 10:30. We are going to open the floor to questions to the candidates running for council, i.e. councillors. Keep in mind that all 12 of them have to answer. Well, they can answer if they want, but we're gonna ask them to all move to that one table because this camera is streaming online, so we can't be moving and panning out all over the room. And we ask that the questions from the floor, that your question is is basically a straight direct question, one question only, not multiple parts to it. So that way we can give all our candidates for councillors a chance to adequately answer what's being asked of them. Okay? I'm going to ask the councillor candidates 9 to 12 to stay here. And then we'll ask the other councillor candidates to sit at this table here, because everybody's got to answer all the councillor candidates have to answer the question. And remember that we're streaming online right now, live across Canada. So we want to make sure that our audio, our band membership streaming online and spending their Friday night with us can see who's speaking. And I can't say enough how thankful I am to the audience in attendance, how respectful and how mindful and how you paid lots of attention to the speakers. Thank you so much for that, and also keeping the noise down to a minimum. Thank you so much. Okay, my colleague and partner Damien has the mics. Well, has one mic. I meant he has one mic. Do you have one mic? Yeah, we got one here, and then that table has one, and then Damien's got the other one. Okay, so at this time, remember, I'm going to have to, all the councillor candidates have to answer if they want. Let's see a show of hands for anybody that has a question for the councillor candidates. Show of hands, please. Okay, we got one councillor, one question here from the audience. Yes, remember, just your question, one question, and a direct question only. So because it's getting late into the evening now, and all 12 candidates have to answer.
You're telling somebody who's got verbal diarrhea to have only one question?
Yeah, just the one question, yeah.
Anyways, years ago when I was in, I told you a little history of myself, but what I did was, one of the things I left out was I used to work for the Métis Society as a writer reporter, and we used to do a lot of, we went all over the province, right, and covering things, and we had meetings with the minister and deputy minister and the governments and stuff. But anyways, as a writer reporter, I used to know, you could tell when somebody's lying to you, especially when you have a Roy Romano telling you a bunch of BS. Anyways, I also worked as one of the founding members of the Regina Human Rights Center. And during that time, I have a friend named Morris Eagles. He worked for Welfare Rights. And we used to have meetings with social services. And one of the things was, that's always stuck in my mind was, I had one of the workers of social services say, "Oh, we can't employ that person because they're socially unemployable." And I was, what the heck is that? Well, you don't look good. You don't dress good. You don't fit, looking. I guess what they're saying is you can't work in the service industry because you don't have the looks. That's always been stuck with me. And that's why that's guided me throughout my whole life. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that you all had, as counselors or wanted to be counselors, each one have really some key points, right? Things to look up at, like housing and stuff like this. And I forget where she is, over here in the white. She worked for the government. She knows how to access grants and stuff like this. And I remember one time that we went for granting, and in those days, it wasn't on a computer. Everything was in a big book about that thing. And you had grants that are available from companies and governments and private individuals that are putting money out to fundraise for individual projects and stuff. And your expertise.
Okay, Ralph, for time constraints, I need to ask you, what is your question you're asking? What is the question you're asking?
What I'm trying to ask is that, or getting around to was, is anybody going to take on that capacity of obtaining funding, not just a reserve funding, the monies that coming out of our own coffers, but anybody going to start looking around for, or take on the responsibility of getting some extra funding from the governments and stuff like that through grants and whatever for different projects.
Thank you so much, Ralph. I'm gonna, out of fairness, I'm gonna go to the counselor that picked number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on for everybody to answer Ralph's question. And I'll turn the mic over to Councillor Candidate number 1.
Thank you. As an event coordinator, funding is always a big part of what I do. We always have to look for money. And if we don't find the money, we don't get to do what we need to do. So yeah, I agree. Everybody actually should be involved when it comes time to raising money. Thank you.
Hello again, everyone. Yeah, that's. I think that that should be taken care of by a person who can be hired strictly to do that job. Yeah, so there should be someone that's their specific job to go out and look for all of that stuff. So that would create a job for that person, all depending how much funding that we're trying to find in a sense. So yeah.
Thank you for the question, Ralph. Yes, we do need to look for resources, and it's going to take all of us at the table because when we're talking about people and we're trying to create employment, I know we're going to have to go through a screening process. It's not going to be easy, maybe not be fair, but we do have to look for resources to make our people employable. We have to look at training and development to get them their skills up to par. So it's all tied to education, adult upgrading. We want to get them into the trades or construction. We have some of them that have that experience. We have to look for the resources. We can write for government grants. We have SIGA that could probably offset some of those costs. So we have to look at our funding pools. So we can't tell you until we get there. So on April 3rd, you deem us worthy enough, you guys make the choice.
Thank you for the question, Ralph. I appreciate that. And when you talk about raising money and finding grants and doing the writing, I have a background in that area. I have a practical example is the Jay's Care ball diamond in Fort Capel. I was directly involved in accessing funding and resources. We raised $1.1 million to build that diamond in Fort Capel. Money from the Toronto Blue Jays, money from K+S, and money from the Western Diversification Fund. So I understand proposal writing. I do that. I don't have a problem with writing and accessing resources. Just a matter of finding where these pools of resources are and just writing. And with the support of leadership, you can do a lot with that. Once you have the support and a good plan and a good direction, and you can go down and take a look at the ball diamond in Fort Capel. It's a beautiful diamond. It's one of the best in southern Saskatchewan. So we know what we're doing. A lot of us know what we're doing. So thank you. Oh, 5. Who's 5 here?
No, I'm 8.
Oh, there you go. Sorry.
Thank you for the question. And I agree that we do have to have people, maybe more than one person in that area looking for funding for all the things that have to be done on our First Nation. Thank you.
Yeah, so it looks like we've got 2 people sitting right here that have experience with that. I've got a niece that has that type of experience. You know, there's going to be some people that are very talented for certain things, and I think we need to utilize these people. And so that ball diamond, did you utilize one of our own architects, or did you go off reserve?
Your brother Ray was a part of the process. So.
You actually hired a Muscowpetung architect? Oh.
He's a project manager.
Right behind you. Yes, we got to work together that way. When we designate someone that from our community, if we are successful and becoming counselors, we have to work to get those funds out and get them where they're needed to address situations like housing for the children and stuff like that. We have to work together, and we will if we succeed.
Thank you, Ralph, for your question. To answer that question, following up what other candidates have said, it does take a team to come together to be able to, create budgets to either program that we're looking to create, to be able to find those resources available to apply for that grant or funding that is available. But there are grants and funding that is available to our Indigenous people, whether it be, creating those housing. There's also partnerships also within the housing industry too, in the housing and the houseless as well. I use houseless for my language over homeless, because our people are houseless and they create a home within themselves. And so I use the word houseless, and also I use the word as relatives because, we all have relatives that struggle. But yes, I do have experience in writing proposals for grants or funding. I had to create a budget and find a grant for the teen parent program that I worked for back in Saskatoon, and that was a food security grant. And I was successful and was able to secure $10,000, where I was able to help the teen parents with food hampers, but also to find those partnerships to be able to provide that food secure for our food insecurity families. But there are grants available. Nine.
Hi, Ralph. So currently, I have an Indigenous health consulting business. It's called Muscowpetung, and I do a lot of grant writing, proposal writing, searching for grants. For Muscowpetung, when I was employed there, I can say that a lot of us were really busy within our own roles. So hiring someone specific for that position would be so beneficial because they'd be able to focus in on the different areas, because there's a lot of grants out there. Grants and funding, they can accelerate our goals, our programming. So it's really important. And going on what Courtney said about partnerships, having those partnerships within the community. When I was employed with Muscowpetung, I was a community navigator. I applied for that funding for my position. So I applied for an $85,000 grant. I wrote that grant and it was successful. And that's how I paid my salary, and also my program budget came out of there. And I wrote that grant for 3 years for my own position within Muscowpetung. I wrote another grant for $130,000 that was successful, and that was for infrastructure around, so signs, safety things. So it was utilized. But yeah, there's a lot of grants out there. I'm familiar with it, and I think that hiring someone specific for that job would be best. Thanks.
About the grant process there. So I just recently, about 6 months ago, I put in a grant through SGI, and it did get approved for all the signage and traffic safety grant. And then the next thing I was going to try to do for the First Nation is on 2 of our big main hills that come down the hill there, we have no guardrails on any of them, and they're pretty steep drop-offs. And that's the next thing that's going to go into the grant, is we need guardrails on those, because a few of our band members, they did go off there, but I don't think nobody died, but they might have just got hurt. But for the signage grant, we did that about 6 months ago, and it did go through. So this year, again, I think the deadline is March 31st to get in this next grant for the next set of funding that's going to come in. So that's what I'm trying to do next for that through SGI. And there are other grants, like SGI will come out, they'll gravel our roads, but we just got to put in the proper documentation backing it up, stating, for all these RM roads and rural roads, that it is kind of needed. But to answer your question, I have been doing some work for getting some grants for their First Nation also. And my role in sitting in public works supervisor, so.
Hi. So the question was, will we continue to end up position or in the role of counselor? Is it in the role of counselor, will we be looking for funding and grants and stuff? As a matter of fact, we talked about that while we were on our campaign, and our job shouldn't stop at 8:30 to 4:30. We should be in the office looking for money, finding grants, especially for the portfolios that we're given. Those are just, things that we can add value to our nation by looking for those, especially understanding. It gives us better understanding as those leaders, looking for those grants and finding those things. Even the proposal writing, I think we should all, at least, if we don't know, then we should be at least given the opportunity to be educated on that so we can do proposal writing for our band. And the role of a leader, I think it would be a great opportunity for everybody at the table to know exactly how important it is to find funding for each thing that we want to be successful in. Grants, proposals, and partnerships. I agree.
Thank you. Anain Sikwa. To answer your question about looking for grants and funding for the reserve, I do have training in that. I think on my farming background, I've done that for myself, and plus my subcontracting for working, I guess, trucking. I've done that for a number of years. I think our role as counselors, like everyone sitting here, I think we need to go out and access a lot of this funding, meeting with the people, bring these grants back, applying, writing our business proposals. And I do write business proposals. I've done it before, and it's not, I think if we're lacking, I think, like Tiffany said, I think we could train everybody, but personally, yeah, I think we should be able to go out there and under the direction of the other members, counselors. I'm always saying like we need a elders committee to follow, so we still need direction, like even from the people. Like that questionnaire is a very important one, so it's always a reminder. Hey, Jimmy Goich.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Candidate Kirby. Okay, we see the venue organizers starting to clean up and take down equipment. Before we adjourn, is there one more question out there from the audience? And again, remember, all 12 candidates have to answer. Is there any questions out there? Okay. Damien, you want to take the mic over to the to our next band member that has a question? Can you please state your name and specifically your specific question? One question.
I know. Yeah. I'm Lucinda Toto. I'm from Muscowpetung. What I want to know is, you guys are all talking about kids in foster care and kids out there, okay? But what are you going to do for the kids in your own backyard when there's nothing there for them? No programming, nothing. Our kids don't even get to go off the reserve. Nowhere. So what are you going to do as counselors for our kids in your own backyard?
You. We're going to go, remember, all 12 have to answer. So we're going to go to Councillor Candidate number 1.
Wow, that's a good question. I haven't lived on the reserve in a long time, so I'm not really sure what the services are there for children. But I think it's kind of normal what we do with our own children. How do we keep them busy? What do we do with them when we're in trouble? I did take in 4 foster kids that were from Pipe Pots in Vancouver. The ministry came to me and asked me if I could take them. They wanted the kids to be all together. And I did take them, and I kept them for 4 years until I was able to bring them back to their home here on Pipe Pots. So
I would kind of use that as my guide moving forward. Thank you.
Hello, everyone, again. Eric Anaquad and Tijnikaz. Eric Anaquad here. That's a really good question there. I only ever grew up on Muscowpetung, Pie Pod area, just every other Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's the only time I ever went out there when I was a child. And that, hearing that question is, can be a little bit hard to answer, but what kept me out from trouble, I guess, and trauma is I grew up with a family with alcoholics and drug addicts. So every other day there was alcohol and beer bottles up until I was about 18, 19. So over 50% of my I'm at these young, however long I've been alive now. So, and the thing that kept me out of trouble and not persuaded by any of that iskote, wapoy, machkiki, all of that alcohol and drugs, I managed to stay away from that. I was in a lot of combat sports. I was in taekwondo, judo, hapkido, kickboxing, and still am now. And that seemed to be the thing that helped me stay away from that stuff, because it teaches you a lot of self-respect for yourself and others. And I think that's a lot of things that we need to have out there, is more specific programming for the children. And especially that's why I want to bring back our traditional language as well, because that's what's going to help us heal. And that's what also helped me heal, aside from just from being in a program to just not see what's happening out there. So more programming needs to be out there for the children, like an after-school program. I would go out and teach them combat sports if I have to every day after school. That's what I do every day. So, but that's a good one there. In an argument.
Thank you for the question. I'm doing some of that now, but with our urban youth. I was over 2 weeks ago, just before the spring solstice, giving some cultural teachings on the 7 sacred rites of the pipe. And in those rites, it gives them concepts of leading a good, healthy life. I've got 40 years of sobriety. I've got 2 sons, as well as my grandsons have been through the ceremonies coming of age. So those are the types of things I do for just my own home, but I could do that for the nation as well, as if they're open to it. I do have lots of nephews and nieces coming to pray now. So I could open up some cultural lens with the Sweat Lodge. The language is different, but the concepts are the same. I was working last week to fly out to Vancouver. I picked up my airfare. I was working with young people on domestic violence. It's called Walk the Good Road. So it's in line with education. It's from a cultural lens, and it's teaching them good communication strategies so that they're not fighting over money. They're not being jealous. It's easy for us to criticize each other, but we have to stop and think when you have to have that positive side, they have to put a little bit more work in. But there's healthy communication. So we need to have healthy communication. We have a lot of our parents that are not haven't dealt with their historical trauma. They're using addiction, so it's all over the place. I had a young man come and die in my old barn when I had horses when my boys were small here last November. So we know the drug problems not only in the urban areas, but on the reserve as well. So we need to try and reach to that group so that we can have a turnaround with maybe a healthier worldview. Stop blaming. They have to take responsibility for their own addictions. And we need to heal together. That's what I started 40 years ago. Thank you. It was a good question.
Thank you. Thank you for the question, Lucinda. That's really, that's a good question, because when I look at, when I reviewed the audit, just from our 2025, 26, when you take a look at the numbers, I think our youth, we spend $70,000 on youth. So the question is that what I would do is I would develop I guess, in terms of reference first, kind of look at what it's about, what we need to accomplish, and then eventually work on a work plan to roll out any programming. I drove my grandson home from Zagame. He caught a ride home from Zagame back to Muscowpetung, and this was last year. And as we were driving, he was telling me, Musham, I want to move home. I want to go back to Chuckachaz. I want to go to Chuckachaz. And I says, why do you want to go to Chuckachaz? We have nothing to do in Muscowpetung. And that really bothered me because, like, the children are truthful. They're going to tell you what's wrong with our nation. And I think an engagement and a consultation with the kids, there's nothing wrong with that, asking them what they want to see happen. They're going to tell you, and they're going to be very clear and candid and honest to you when they tell you what they need. And from that point, you'd identify the goals and objectives. What is going to cost? And we hear it every election time. We talk about the youth. I talked a little bit about it in my presentation, and a lot of the candidates have spoken about the youth. But what are we doing? That's a good question. And you're an elder in our nation, and you're seeing and you're telling us it's not happening. So we have to give our heads a shake and start developing those types of programming, because it's just not fodder. We're just not here to talk about them. We need to be able to have something concrete, tangible, and measurable, that where these kids the outcomes are really good. Right now, are the outcomes really good when we're putting $70,000 into youth programming? I have a problem with that. There's something wrong with our system, and the question that you bring about has all the candidates thinking, because we all have to answer this question now. We're thinking about it, we're responding. So that's how I would deal with it, Lucinda. So thank you.
Good question. I was just sitting here thinking, like Todd said, I helped raise 3 grandchildren from the young age. My youngest was 5, and it wasn't easy. I never got help from anywhere. I was working, and in fact, I had I guess, an argument. They were trying to take my grandchildren and put them in foster homes in Regina, and I fought against that. So I was told, well, you're not getting any money. I said, I'm not there for the money. I want my grandchildren. Never mind money. I want my grandchildren. So I raised them. I was working. It was hard, in fact. And when you're working and looking after young kids, it's tough to, after work, to try and do things with them, but I would try to play ball with them, just stuff like that to keep them busy. My one grandson was so stuck to his game, and he was mad for, maybe a month, because I gave him just a certain amount of time to go on his game. And I think that's how a lot of our people are raising kids, is using their phones or their games and allowing them to just sit on that all the time. And I don't think that's right. So I think we also, as parents, have to get out there and take time for our kids. But it is a good idea also for us to do something for them, because a lot of the families don't have vehicles, don't have the money to take their kids out. So and like Todd said, come up with a plan and, put some money into it for them. It's not for us, it's for them. But yeah, that's something I would like to see.
Yeah, and that question is a good question for just anybody in general. Kids that are idle tend to find something no good to get into. And, I look at, are we doing enough for the land-based learning? The hunting, the fishing, is it enough? Are these kids getting outside, learning about nature. And I know for myself, I'm a big fisherman. I like to take kids out, teach them, you know, what fish to catch, which ones you keep. You don't keep the big females. That replenishes your lake, that respect for nature. And that could be some things, you know, I'm not a hunter. We had unlimited beef when I was growing up. So I understand there's some very good hunters that are taking the kids out and that meat is being provided. You know, that could be a sense of pride for these kids to learn some of these things. Feed the community. I also look at sports. I played a lot of hockey as a kid. When a lot of my buddies were getting into trouble and starting to, you know, dabble into alcohol and drugs, I just wanted to play hockey. I didn't want to, you know, if I did those things, it affected me playing hockey. And I think the kids just need something, whether it's baseball or whatever, keep them active. And then, you know, that can be a source of inter-community friendships that build, you know, through the years. But I think there's a lot of opportunities that we can get our young people involved in many different things.
That is indeed a good question. It had me thinking there for a while. But the thing is we have to do is find the resources, find the grants. Sit down with the children that are too afraid to talk. They don't want to speak their mind. Get them together like this, how we are discussing it here right now. Have them bring forth the ideas to us, then we can form a committee. We can do that together. We can work with them. There's a lot of good ideas here that was brought up. A lot of good notions and everything like that to work with them because really, I have worked in a youth centers before and all the kids want to know is to be heard, to listen, to see what they have to do. There's many times off hunting season as I'm a hunter, take the kids out there, my nephews, my nieces, go in those hills. There's other ways of looking for deer. They drop their horns, shed hunting. They love going out there, going in the bushes looking. They speak their mind. But there's limited funds and stuff for that. And also, let them decide what they want to play. They could be a gymnastic. They could be wanting to play fiddle. Have a big board for them and get them out in a group like this to bring forth their ideas. And we'll work for them. We'll work with them. That's where we have to have our committee to go have that funding available for them so we can address this and we can keep them out of trouble. That's the main thing. And all the good ideas here. That is great.
I'll stand so you can see me. Thank you for the question. It's such a great question. You know, I too, you know, help raise my nieces and nephews, and I still do to this day, alongside raising my own kids. And it isn't easy, and it gets expensive, and it's hard. I did what I had to do the best way I knew how. And when I got into mentoring youth and incarcerated youth, youth at risk, I learned how to build the skills to listen to the youth and meet the youth where they are at in their time of their life as of now. Not from the past and not for tomorrow, but where they are at today in that present. And what I would like to do and what I would like to work towards, also if I'm elected, is creating that mentorship program with our youth, creating a youth mentorship program, whether it be bringing in, you know, Indigenous role models to work with our youth. And we have, like I said, a lot of talented people from Muscowpetung that we could partner up with our youth, kind of like a big sister, big brother program, just for that connection. Because I know, you know, within my own kids, my kids didn't want to connect with me, right, as their mom. And so, you know, some of the things our youth go through, they can't talk to their own family members. But if they had a mentor that can help them open up and have their voice shared by listening to them and hearing them. And I really believe that, creating that mentorship program with our youth will also help them navigate through what they would like to do and also allow them to find their voice and also express their feelings. And by doing that too, also is connecting our youth to the land with medicine picking and teaching our cultural ways and going back to our cultural ways to help them reconnect back to who they are and their identity. I applaud Eric for, learning to speak his language and taking that initiative to be able to find his language to help him keep connected to his identity. And we need role models like Eric out there in the community to work with our youth.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, it's Jacqueline. That's an important question, Lucinda. When I begin to think of an issue on reserve, off reserve, I always want to begin with everyone that's involved. So, for example, if we're going to look at all our children, age 0 to our youth, we'd have to do it in stages, and we would need a framework, and when you begin to build a child and youth framework, it brings in everyone that's involved. So it's almost like a research process. So first we would bring in the parents, caregivers, teachers, our elders, and that's where we begin. We take a shared vision. We would create a shared vision, and we would begin to work towards all of those goals. I'm sure if we even look at our neighbor, or what's going on in the city, an early childhood, what is it called? Early, when they go to daycare when they're like age 3. Yeah. Yeah. We need a program like that, daycare, a nutrition program, our little babies, healthy food for them. That would be something I'm sure that would come out when we create that framework, right? A playground, a spray park, Pipot has one. They built one, they're always sharing knowledge with us. I'm sure we could speak to them. They have a youth center as well. Our youth need that space. I was really happy to see that the health center was offering a babysitting course, ages 10 to 14. Finally, my granddaughter, Kizik, she's 10, she was able to participate in something, stuff like that to build up our youth. I don't I look at the things that I guess all around, and I would have to go to the people first, and that's where we would get the guidance from. Once we have that framework in place, that's what we would follow, and we would have goals that we could measure. We could see how far we've come, and I think that's important in any community because that also holds us accountable, and that's transparency when we have that set out for everyone.
Good evening again. So about the youth programs that you're inquiring about. So with me, I was a foster parent since I was like 30 years old, and I'm 38 right now. I've had 2 boys come into our care, me and my wife, Jessica Keepness. And, when we got them, they were in, I want to say grade 8, grade 9. So we kept them till they were about 20, 21 years old, got them to graduate, gave them their license. Well, we didn't give them, but we taught them along the way, right? So we helped them finish school, get their license, and get set up and, get out, move out of the house when they're about 21, 22. But for me, for youth, like I have 4 children also, and my boy, he likes playing ball. So hopefully in the upcoming year here, we have something like for sports and rec where these boys can go out to either summer games or tryouts and all this stuff again, like we had with the previous years when Crystal Redmond was kind of picking the kids up and taking them out and, going out till 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the evening, taking them out on outings. And same thing, like we have JJ right now too, that's doing the same thing. He has curling with the kids. He has a few other little things going on, but we do have stuff going on. But I get it, the kids, some of them are sitting at home, and one of my daughters is the same way. She stays at home and she likes to play video games. But then with her, she is also a diabetic, a type 1 diabetic, so her body doesn't produce insulin. And my daughter is also a celiac disease. So she kind of has to stay home, right? Because a lot of these places don't accommodate her illness that she has. So with my oldest son, he can get out and do just about anything. And my middle daughter, Ava, her too, she wants to go out and do things. But, with the limited funding we have right now, it's kind of, how can I word that? Yeah, it's limited, I guess, right? Yeah, so, yeah. But, yeah, well, we do have lots of prevention dollars too that we could probably utilize in those different areas, right? But I don't want to go down that road and start saying stuff. So, but for the most part right now, we do have JJ Pacha that's in there doing some stuff with the kids, curling, hockey, all this good stuff that he's doing. So, and yeah, that's about it for me. Thank you.
Hi. Hi. I'm glad he brought up the programming JJ's doing, so I will try to go skip that. And I do want to mention that JJ is starting a boxing program, and he's taking our youth out to Moose Jaw, where Adam Toto has a gym out there. And I just want to mention that because our kids don't know a whole lot of people that have businesses, and especially having somebody so young as Adam. He was a former counselor out here, and he started that. He used his cows and plows and his 40 G's to purchase a gym and to start programming for our youth. And I really admire that. But in saying that, also our youth need to experience that and actually see our band members that have these businesses, because it's not a far-fetched dream. If our band members can have these businesses and start these good things, our youth just need to be exposed to that and really see. We talked about having maybe starting a travel program for our youth that want to start traveling in grade 10. Maybe they can start fundraising for those overseas trips if we can start doing things at a younger age, not just doing them at graduation time, but letting them see that, there's a bigger world out there than just Muscowpetung. And I love that you asked that question, because those are the kinds of things, the talks that everybody needs to start talking about, because there is a lot of bad out there in the world, and we want to keep our kids busy at whatever we can, right? And programming and getting that stuff rolling, especially at a younger age, is just going to activate that in our children, and they're going to want to keep participating and keep going. I love that Crystal had the Jays League. She did Jays Leagues for a long time here in Dalton, and it was very successful. It was a very successful program. Our kids won first place, and they got to go to Toronto, and I really admire you guys for doing that for our children. And I just want to say thank you for everybody.
Anitsikwa. That's a good question. I think a lot of you know that when I grew up, I played hockey, I played fastball, I played football when I was in high school. A lot of those programs can be accessed through grants through Kids Sport, SIGA. There's grants and funding there, and I definitely access it for our kids. For our sick kids, I do have a sick son, and I would definitely take time to meet with all parents of these kids with special needs. A lot can be done for our kids. I know for one that we have a lot of good fastball players in our community. I'd like to see more hockey players. But if there's not enough in the age group, why don't we assist them, bring them different teams? Because when I was growing up, I was the only person in my age group playing hockey from the reserve. I had to go play in places like Southie, Cupar, Dysart. But I always found that a good experience because I got to know all the farm boys, the neighbors. And I'd like to share that with the kids. I know Fort Capel is the only place that has a hockey team nowadays. And I'd like to train more hockey players, fastball players, baseball players. But having said that, it teaches them teamwork. And I want to bring a lot of that back to the community. I still have a lot of that experience, and I know what it takes because these fees, baseball fees, hockey fees, they're very, very expensive. The hockey equipment nowadays, very, very expensive. But like I said before, the money's there, the grants are there. It pertains to that question he said, let's bring it back for our kids. There's lots that we could do, but it also starts at our school. We need another hall because too many times that it's shut down because of a funeral. But having said all of that, I want to do more for the kids too. And I see that we have a lot of good athletes in the community, and I'm very proud to say that, yeah, I said those are my neighbors. And I said they're a hockey family, they're a fastball family. And I said they're good with their children as well as the community. So I'm going to try my best. Which.
Okay, thank you there, Councillor Candidate Kirby. That concludes our night. It's 11 o'clock. I've been notified by our production team that they want to take down the production for the live stream, and the venue wants to start packing up and cleaning up. And we have our cleanup crew that wants to start cleaning up as well from Muscowpetung. So let's give a round of applause to our councillor candidates, everybody. Give them a round of applause, everybody, for doing a great job here tonight. And thank you to JP Productions for hosting and doing a live stream of our venue for tonight. And also to our venue for supporting our function tonight and giving us a great facility. And also to my security and attendants for providing a safe environment for everybody. And as well as to my staff members and my colleagues that helped out tonight. Candy, Crystal, Damien, thank you so much out there for being here tonight. And I welcome everybody. You guys are welcome to the next forum. It's on reserve. No, by no means are you going to be barred out. So if you want to join in the forum on the 24th at Muscowpetung Gym, you're more than welcome to come and listen to the speeches again. You won't be turned away. And supper will be served at 5 o'clock. So you're more than welcome to join us for supper again. With that, thank you so much for allowing me to host and facilitate and moderate tonight's proceedings. And, it was just an excellent opportunity to listen to all the candidates. Great speeches, everybody. And best of luck on your campaigns. Thank you so much, everybody. And good night. Have a great night. Drive safe. And we'll see you on the 24th. Merci, Chu. Wash say.